A new vision of the world rises from the mounds of Cahokia. The children of Redhorn and the Earthmaker shape the land as they see fit, building mountains out of plains and cities out of the wilderness. As the burning arrow brings light to the darkness, the Mississippians bring new life to the world. He heard these horrors and his... He was the
ideas that hadn't been tried yet. But he wasn't discouraged and he wasn't done yet. He had one more weirdo, unmarketable, non-flying simulator game in him yet that he wanted to try. And this one would change that low confidence impression of his name on the box very, very drastically.
I cannot believe it has taken me this long to use the Wonder app. I haven't tried one dish from there that I haven't loved, and the process is so easy. Because you can choose dishes from multiple restaurants all in one order, I never have to worry about everyone's preference when it comes to family meals. All you have to do is pick and choose what you want, add to cart, and decide on pickup or delivery. If you have not already started ordering your food from Wonder, stop waiting. All the food is absolutely amazing.
It starts with a song. Your music is magnetic. It pulls fans in before they even know why.
Did you know that the first Civilization was almost a real-time strategy game? Part of this initial decision was influenced by the fact that Sid Meier was playing a lot of SimCity at the time. SimCity helped establish the idea of a God game to the public, and it inspired Sid's own God game, with help from Sid's newest working partner, Bruce Shelley. Bruce wasn't a programmer, that was Sid's department, but he was a talented game designer. First, Bruce would co-design Railroad Tycoon with Sid. Look, there he is in his train engineer overalls. And now he would work with Sid in co-designing the first Civilization game. The first versions of Civilization shown to Bruce to playtest were completely real-time, like SimCity, but on a global scale. And by our modern standards of what a Civ game is, it was completely unrecognizable. You could see the whole map from the very beginning. You didn't settle cities, you instead started with pre-settled locations and you spent your time zoning them. And you'd make your farms, you'd plot out your areas for production, and then sit back and watch your empire grow with the march of time. Now, I could see this being kind of cool to see and play out once or twice, but according to Sid, it would get boring pretty quickly and have very little replay value. As he says in his book, unfortunately, neither sit back or watch are features to be proud of in a game. That's what movies are for. Sid is full of good quotes like that. Unrelated to that quote, did you know that 20 years from now, David Cage would release the games Heavy Rain, Jason, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human?
Do you stand? Do you stand?
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped is a global humor brand. Sorry, I mean men's lifestyle brand that is revolutionizing the landscape of men's grooming. Lawnmower. Of course, it wasn't. It had slow success. So, well, Sid noticed it, and I quote, "peg leg to stand on." I have also taken part in sailing the high seas, but this story takes place in a very different time of software piracy. After all, back then, if you were buying software, you were buying a physical copy of it. You were actually paying to own a real product that you could touch with your hands. We're not talking about the live service Adobe model bullshit that we have today. We're talking about a time period where video games were enjoyed to some degree, but not yet recognized as an actual actual form of media that was worth supporting. People were just making copies of floppy disks without any thought or regard to the guy who made them, which is a problem if you want that guy to make more stuff. This practice needed to change. If nothing had been done about it back then, in the modern day we would never have gotten games that required a lot of financial backing, like Faster Than Light, or Hollow Knight, or Shovel Knight. A lot of rhyming words there, I don't know why, but it's just the way it is. Anyway, these are beloved games that would not have existed without financial support to the developers. So back then, something had to change. Software piracy got so rampant at one point back then that many developers were panicked enough to form a group to try to combat it. This group would be known as the Software Publishers Association, or SPA, something that Bill Steely was eager to join to try to protect microprose. And of all places, this is where the Robin Williams connection comes in. Sid says in his book, Microprose was one of about 150 companies who attended their regular meetings, along with Sierra, Microsoft, Broderbund, and Robin Williams. Yes, as strange as it may seem, the comedian Robin Williams was connected to the Software Publishers Association. To my knowledge, he never dabbled in game design himself, but he felt strongly that all creative jobs should be fairly compensated, and he had such a particular love for video games that he named his daughter Zelda. According to lore, he and Bill were seated at the same table at an SPA event, and during the course of conversation, Robin pointed out that all the other entertainment industries promoted their stars by name, so why should gaming be any different? Whether this was a passing comment or a hard sell on my name in particular, I have no idea. But Bill already had plenty of experience with fostering a cult of personality. Either way, I can't blame him for wanting to share credit on this one, since Robin Williams told me to do it is a pretty good defense for almost anything. All I know is Bill made the executive decision to call the game Sid Meier's Pirate Whatever, and I was too busy thinking about adventure game mechanics to question it. That's right. You heard me correctly. The guy who's known for putting his name on the titles of all of his games, it wasn't even his decision. He just wanted to make a fun pirate game. He didn't care what it was called. And there it began. Putting his name on the box would become an important part of Sid Meier's legacy from there on. This branding decision happened again later when Sid once again got bored of making flying simulators and went on to one of his childhood inspirations. Trains! That's right, he has that kind of autism, and I love him for it. He made what would become Sid Meier's Railroad Tycoon, which, like Pirates, would end up being one of Microprose's most famous titles and part of Sid's legacy as a game developer to this day. But again, before its release, Bill did not particularly want to go through with this weird, risky railroad game. Pirates hadn't really seen its success quite yet, and the flying simulators were so much more profitable in the short term. But he trusted his business partner, so Sid's name was slapped on the box again, which is when Sid began to realize something. His name being put on the box, ironically, was actually an indicator of low confidence from the marketing department. It was their message to him, the game you're making is too risky and unusual, we need your name to sell it or it'll never work. To put this in perspective, here's a quick look at the titles of the Microprose games from that time period. Gunship, Sid Meier's Pirates, Red Storm Rising, F-19 Stealth Fighter, F-15 Strike Eagle 2, Sid Meier's Railroad Tycoon. Yeah, the pattern is pretty noticeable. Sid noticed it, and he knew when the marketing department didn't really care for his new weird video game ideas that hadn't been tried yet. But he wasn't discouraged, and he wasn't done yet. He had one more weirdo, unmarketable, non-flying simulator game in him yet that he wanted to try. And this one would change that low confidence impression of his name on the box very, very drastically. Did you know that the first Civilization was almost a real-time strategy game? Part of this initial decision was influenced by the fact that Sid Meier was playing a lot of SimCity at the time. SimCity helped establish the idea of a God game to the public, and it inspired Sid's own God game, with help from Sid's newest working partner, Bruce Shelley. Bruce wasn't a programmer, that was Sid's department, but he was a talented game designer. First, Bruce would co-design Railroad Tycoon with Sid. Look, there he is in his train engineer overalls. And now he would work with Sid in co-designing the first Civilization game. The first versions of Civilization shown to Bruce to playtest were completely real-time, like SimCity, but on a global scale. And by our modern standards of what a Civ game is, it was completely unrecognizable. You could see the whole map from the very beginning. You didn't settle cities, you instead started with pre-settled locations and you spent your time zoning them, and you'd make your farms, you'd plot out your areas for production, and then sit back and watch your empire grow with the march of time. Now, I could see this being kind of cool to see and play out once or twice, but according to Sid, it would get boring pretty quickly and have very little replay value. As he says in his book, unfortunately, neither sit back or watch are features to be proud of in a game. That's what movies are for. Sid is full of good quotes like that. Unrelated to that quote, did you know that 20 years from now, David Cage would release the games Heavy Rain, Jason, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human?
Do you stand?
Jason!
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped is a global... They're told by Bill that he had to put some...
A fragment of the Earth's oldest dream. It lay there while oceans move.
something out. So he brought back a different game he gave up on before, called Covert Action, begrudgingly put the finishing touches on it, and had it sent out for publishing. He wasn't entirely happy with Covert Action, but it gave him space to think about how he could improve Civilization. That's when he decided, why don't I try out a turn-based system instead? And that's when everything fell into place. Making it turn-based was the secret sauce he needed, and now Sid was cooking. He then realized, wouldn't it be a magical, epic feeling to have the rest of the map be unseen and unexplored? And wouldn't it be more interesting, instead of being simply given a city and zoning it, to start from nothing and to make your own decision to choose where to settle your first cities? Symbolically, it felt like the difference between signing a deed for a distant frontier versus driving a flag into the dirt with your own calloused, sweaty hands. The player should plant their first city right where they stood, I decided, or close enough to it, and it should trigger a suitably commemorative full-screen animation. Rome founded 4000 BC. Never mind the covered wagons and simple yurts, this is Rome, capital city of a mighty civilization, and it will be glorious. To this day, when I play Civilization, I almost always choose the Romans. It was at this point in development that Sid started to decide what civilizations should be in the game, and with what leaders. There's hundreds of countries past and present that would warrant being included, and computer limitations of the time would only let him pick 14 of them, so it wasn't easy to choose. He figured he should go with most of the major world powers and then decide from there. Basically, it was decided via Sid Meier's vibe check. Ultimately, Civ 1's world stage would include America, Greece, Rome, England, Germany, Mongolia, Babylon, Japan, India, China, the Aztecs, France, Egypt, the Zulu, and Russia. Sid thought to himself that obviously the civilizations should have their most iconic leaders of all time. At least iconic generally speaking to the average American in 1990. So let's see, we got America, Abe Lincoln, Greece, Alexander the Great, Rome, Caesar, England, Elizabeth I, and Germany.
Germany!
Fuck. Germany. Sid wanted to include each country's most famous leader, but he also knew that for Germany, this could maybe be a problem. Among other reasons, doing this would make it so that Germany would instantly ban the game. A painful move for Microprose, who already had some of their flight simulators banned in Germany at the time for depicting military operations.
Deine Flugzeuge verboten. Deine Hubschrauber verboten. Du hast keinen Swag, keine Bitches und wenn du den Mann mit dem Schnurrbart in ein nächstes Spiel einbaust, wird es sofort verboten.
Germany's a pretty big market to lose out on, and Microprose had just recently painfully fought to get those flight simulator titles taken off of the ban list. Was Sid really gonna get this one intentionally perma-banned from the very beginning? Because of this dilemma, Germany almost didn't get included in Civ 1 at all. Sid went back and forth on Germany throughout the game's entire development. They were in, and then they were out, and then they were in, and then they were out, until he finally made the decision, screw it, I'm putting Germany in with Frederick the Great. He's not as well known, he gets overshadowed by the failed painter in the mind of the average normie, but at least he's still a very prominent German leader, and then they get to be in the game. This was such a last-minute decision that the first run of manuals that came with Civ 1 still referred to Germany's former placeholder, the Turks. I played Civ 1 recently with this knowledge in mind, and was kind of surprised to learn that despite all this stuff with Germany, Russia is led by Stalin, and China is led by Mao. There's a poignant quote about this in the book where Sid says, "It's worth noting that Chairman Mao and Stalin both went into the game without any doubt on my part or comment from others. The rules about what was acceptable didn't always make a lot of sense." Fair enough, Sid. Fair enough. But really, that's pretty much Civilization as a series. It doesn't make a lot of sense for the leaders to survive as long as they do. But in Civ, that's what you are. An eternal emperor of legend. A god, even. Abraham Lincoln, God Emperor of mankind. I've seen good critiques about Civilization and its historical representation, its inaccuracies, but Civilization is not a game about historical pinpoint accuracy. There are other games that strive for that and succeed well enough. The core principle of Civilization was always, from the very first game, you were rewriting history, not reliving it. A big foundation of Civilization is personal success, something Sid learned from his experience with Sid Meier's Pirates. In Pirates, you had multiple correct answers to victory, multiple interesting decisions you could make. The same is in Civ, which allows you to decide what kind of leader you want to be. When given the reins of power, do you choose to focus on your military and drink out of your opponent's skulls? Or do you want to focus on science and get your genetically engineered cat girls on Mars by the end of the game? Even within these two paths to victory, there are many interesting decisions to be made about your empire's happiness, production, economy, food, and more. Sid Meier would come to be known for a phrase including the words interesting decisions. His feeling is that the best games are a series of interesting decisions. And so far, Civ's prototype is living up to that ideal. But his company life was about to shift pretty drastically, at least legally, and in terms of liability. As the co-founders of Microprose, Sid and Bill often made the most important decisions together. Well, during the time Civilization was in development, Bill told Sid that Microprose needs to start heading in a new direction. That new direction? Arcade cabinets. Sid was a bit baffled by this, accurately recognizing in hindsight that arcades were on the decline. He wanted to continue making software, not hardware and software, whereas Bill and the marketing team saw Sid's recent non-flight sim games as anomalies, even if they saw some success. They were indulgences that they let him get away with, which in retrospect is pretty insane considering these indulgent games are vastly more memorable than whatever plain nonsense they had him working on before that. Unfortunately, they couldn't come to a compromise on which direction the company should go. Bill was determined on this arcade idea, and Sid, doubtful about the positive impact it would have on the company, decided to sell his half of Microprose to Bill, making him the sole owner. They still wanted to work together. They weren't bitterly breaking up, so they arranged to have Sid continue working at Microprose, but as an independent contractor. His title had changed, but he was still around and making games. But now, he was free to work on whatever he wanted, like his indulgent little god game Empire Simulator, which was nearing completion.
Shame in deterrence. Having a weapon is very different from actually using it.
I'd like to take a break from Civilization to instead talk about Civilization. More specifically, a certain ascetic preacher of peace in the Civ games who's known for being unusually hungry for war. His name is Mahatma Only Nuclear Fire Will Quench My Desire, Gandhi. It's a meme. It's a big meme. Probably the best known Civilization meme, and known even by people who haven't played the games. It's easy to understand why. It is inherently hilarious to have the peace advocate Gandhi jump scare you with dialogue telling you that my words are backed with nuclear weapons, so watch your fucking step. And what's even funnier is that it's not real. Well, it is today, kind of, but only because we memed it into existence. The common explanation of the meme goes like this. In Civilization 1, all leaders were given a score in their code from 1 to 12 that would determine their aggressiveness. If Genghis Khan was a 12, naturally Gandhi was a 1. When democracy is adopted as a government, though, it would subtract 2 points of aggressiveness from this score.
But in a world of programmed integers, -1 doesn't exist. And this caused his aggression level to underflow from 1 backwards to 255, out of a possible 10.
Cue the Indian nukes dropping on Rome. That story has been commonly understood and repeated by Civ players, myself included, for the last, 10 years. But, according to the guy who coded the entire game, it's not true. Sid notes in his book that he finds the entire thing hilarious, but he also wants to put the facts on the table. That kind of bug comes from something called unsigned characters, which are not the default in the C programming language, and not something I used for leader traits. Brian Reynolds wrote Civ 2 in C++, and he didn't use them either. We received no complaints about a Gandhi bug when either game came out, nor did we send out any revisions for one. Gandhi's military aggressiveness score remained at 1 throughout the game. Well, what the hell then? What's the deal? Why does everybody remember Gandhi being so bloodthirsty if he wasn't actually that way from the beginning like the story goes? First of all, Sid says that it's true that Gandhi would eventually use nukes if India was at war, but every civilization was coded to use nukes at some point. Every leader had a point that they would draw a line in the sand, no matter who they were, and Gandhi would actually take more shit than just about anybody else before drawing that line. So part of the meme's existence might just be that the idea of Gandhi using nukes at all is so memorable that it sticks in your brain. Another part of it is the victory conditions of the game. There were only 2 ways to win in Civ 1. Kill everybody else, or win a science victory. And since Gandhi had low aggression, he would focus heavily on science so that he could get that science victory. Thus, he would often gain the technology to create nukes much earlier than the player, leading him to threatening to nuke the player while the player is still training knights on horseback. You may ask then, why would Gandhi threaten to use nukes at all? Well, the idea was that any Civ who didn't want to go to war, like Gandhi, who was coded to be very unaggressive, would make sure to remind the player, hey, remember that thing called mutually assured destruction? Well, I have nukes, so don't fuck with me. The idea was deterrence, even if it comes off a bit, strong. So it's fair to say that Gandhi could, on occasion, seem a little unnecessarily zealous, if only verbally. Some people point to Civilization 5 as evidence of the meme's reality, but they actually have it backwards. Gandhi was given his nuclear bloodthirst Easter egg in Civ 5 as a reference to the already present hilarity of Gandhi using nukes at all in the Civ community. It had nothing to do with the negative overlapping to 255 thing, and the designer of Civ 5, John Schaefer, had never heard of this when he put his nuclear Gandhi in Civ 5 as a fun Easter egg. So then the question remains, where did the whole coding overflow story come from? Here's the short version. Guy named Tuna Fish on TV Tropes makes it the fuck up. Okay, now I'm gonna give you the bigger, longer, uncut version. In 2012, a guy named Tuna Fish posts to tvtropes.org. This was 2 years after Civilization 5, which had the actual first official appearance of nuclear Gandhi, by the way. But for whatever reason, Tuna Fish made a claim on TV tropes that the nuclear Gandhi thing went as far back as Civilization 1 due to a coding error. God only knows why he said it. He could have just been trolling. It may have been revealed to him in a dream. He could have been shooting up heroin. Nobody knows. It didn't matter. It was plausible, funny, and on the internet now, and nobody would lie on the internet, so it ran on its own from there. An anonymous user added the story to the Civilization fandom page, called Wikia at the time, which to most of the internet was enough to make it truly official. For a year and a half, the story would spread as a fun little bit of trivia, just here and there around the internet. The real wildfire started in 2014, when the comic Real Life Gandhi vs. Civilization Gandhi was reposted on Reddit. It wasn't even the first time it was shared. It was several years old as a comic, and it wasn't even about the Overflow story. But just like Civ 5's inclusion of Nuclear Gandhi, the comic was poking fun about Gandhi using nukes at all. Here are some comments from people at the time, confidently declaring this completely wrong information to be well-known trivia. And by the way, I'm not calling these people stupid. The average person does not want to look up and fact-check every single thing they find. I believed this at the time as well, just as these people did. The people who should be investigating and fact-checking these sorts of things, you would think, would be journalists. Fortunately, when the news of this comic's popularity got to the games journalists, our bulwarks of truth and evidence, they dug down deep into this story and found out that the paper trail led to a dead end. They realized it may be unfounded, they went and asked Sid Meier, and then they rushed to let the public know the facts. I'm just kidding. They fell for it too, and they started citing each other as official sources. Kotaku writes a story citing the Reddit comic, and the comments. Geek.com does the same. Now it's officially true because they made articles about it. The other gaming websites and blogs published their versions of the story while citing Kotaku as their source. Isn't journalism fun? Did you know that people go to school for this? Okay, let me be a little nicer and say probably part of the reason that it propagated as far as it did for as long as it did is just because it was so funny. We wanted to believe it, myself included. Some part of me still does believe it, even if the guys who made the games tell me it isn't so. But I appreciate Sid's demeanor about the story in the book. He has no intention of debunking the story just to ruin everyone's fun. Sid just puts the facts on the table, but he's more than happy to have Nuclear Gandhi live on in the latest Civ iterations throughout whatever Easter eggs they choose. Gandhi firing nukes is, and always has been, inherently funny, no matter how rarely it actually occurs. I'm glad to see players engage with the game and each other in whatever way makes them happy. So, Nuclear Gandhi will live on. Despite us knowing now that the origin story is untrue, and that the Civ 5 Nuclear Gandhi is not in reference to it, the Civilization 6 one may have been. After all, Civilization 6 came out at a time when basically everyone believed it. Therefore, despite not being real, Nuclear Gandhi also is real. He has been willed into existence via meme magic. I imagine his future appearances in Civ games will also reference this story, and in a roundabout way, I think that's kind of cool. It's not real, but it is real, and either way, it's fun. Why not? Now we can add Nuclear Gandhi to the list of meme magic concepts like Santa Claus and North Dakota. Oh no! Oh no! No, no! Anyway, back to our main story. Civilization 1 is almost finished. Huge strides have been made, and Sid was ready to let some other people, other than his co-designer, Bruce Shelley, try out the game. But he was only willing to let a different Bruce play it. His younger brother, Bruce Meyer. This was the day that Sid discovered that his little god game had an interesting effect on people. Sid was visiting family one day and was open to letting his younger brother, Bruce, playtest the latest version of Civilization. So he gave the game to his little brother and said, "All right, buddy, I gotta go watch my newborn son. I'll come check on you in a little bit, okay? See you soon." Bruce took the game, they headed their separate ways. Sid gets distracted, and before he knows it, the next time he looks at the clock, 6 hours have passed. He runs back to the computer room to check on Bruce. He opens the door and sees Bruce completely enthralled and completely unaware of how much time had passed. The one more turn effect had just become reality, and the game wasn't even finished yet. For those of you who don't know, the one more turn effect is what makes people equate the games to crack. Just one more turn, then I'll quit and go to bed. I just need to finish building this catapult. Okay, now this guy is trying to attack me, so just one more turn so I can defend myself properly. Okay, I've got him on the retreat. Just one more turn so I can use my catapult on this guy's city. Ooh, I got the tech to upgrade. Just give me one more turn and then I can upgrade to a trebuchet. On and on and on until it's 5 in the morning, the sun is coming up, and you're going, oh no. Sid attributes this effect to simple plus simple equals complex, drawing comparisons to chess. Understanding each chess piece is simple, but it's the plans within plans that make things really compelling. Those are the decisions, the thinking ahead that can get you to stay up for hours and hours and hours. For example, but it's when you start to plan out 12 different cities, each with different military units, and you want to go conquer the other guy, but to do that, you're going to have to make these amount of units with this amount of food, and you need this much production, but also don't forget the happiness of your empire. That's when it gets interesting. So much so that it gets real easy to lose track of time. But anyway, now that 2 different Bruces had given the game their seal of Bruce approval, it was time to open up playtesting to non-Bruces. Sid allowed for his peers at Microprose to try the game out, and it was an instant office hit. People were constantly coming up to Sid and telling him, dude, you gotta add this, you gotta add that. Some things that we think of Civilization's staples were actually suggestions from his coworkers at the time, such as, what if you could build the 7 world wonders? Or, what if there were more than 7? He would go through many iterations of the game at this point. Through this process, though, a lot of things were also removed. The game at one point had a mechanic relating to the rise and fall of nations. The tech tree was going through constant changes. At one point, there was even a secondary tech tree for minor discoveries like beer brewing. There were landmine weapons at one point that he just couldn't get to work because they would just completely break the AI. At one point there were religious leaders, and then there weren't. And then, of course, Germany, then no Germany, then fine, put Germany in there with Freddy, because we're down to the wire, and it's time to publish the game. The folks in marketing were antsy to get this thing over with. This is a strategy game. Ugh. It's only going to appeal to hardcore nerds. It's not going to turn a profit anyway. So their feeling was something like, let's give it the big push it needs to get anyone to even give it a chance and get this over with. No matter what, though, Sid was happy. He got to make the game he would want to play. He loved it, his family and friends loved it, so that was enough for him. If the game had been a massive flop with everyone else, I wouldn't have been shocked in the slightest. Of course, it wasn't. It had slow success at first, like his other recent projects, but then an absolutely overwhelming tidal wave of popularity, which was a lot for humble Sid Meier, who just wanted to make fun computer games, and wasn't used to being interviewed so much.
It's good to be the king.
Allow me to introduce you to Brian Reynolds. Brian would one day form a company with Sid, but at the moment, he had just gotten his foot in the door at Microprose, and they had him programming their answer to Leisure Suit Larry, Microprose's Rex Nebular and the Cosmic Genderbender. I have no idea how Brian felt about programming that game, but at least they let him design a strategy game afterwards. That game would be called Colonization. Sid Meier's Colonization, to be precise, despite Sid not coding any of it and only helping toward the end of its development. As usual, this appeared to be a decision by the marketing department. Funny how that works. Your nerdy strategy game gets super popular, and suddenly putting your name on the box isn't a mark of low confidence from them anymore. Sid is uncomfortable about it, to say the least. He is very quick to acknowledge Brian as the main creator of Colonization, Civilization. So he went to go ask Brian how he felt about Sid Meier's potentially getting put on the game. And to his surprise, Brian welcomed the idea. After all, having the Sid Meier's branding on his game would probably mean more people would play it. And if it was successful, Brian would get to make more games. So I conceded. Sid Meier's now meant Sid Meier's mentored and approved instead of Sid Meier personally coded. I think some part of me probably knew it was inevitable. Well, it wasn't long before Microprose wanted a sequel to their big hit Civilization, and Sid Meier didn't care to be the lead designer of Civ anymore. He loved Brian's work on colonization, so Brian would be chosen as the designer of Civ 2, with Sid acting as mentor when necessary. This pattern would continue to today, with every mainline Civilization game being designed by someone different. Back to when Civ 2 was being developed. As Sid feared, Bill Steely's push into the arcade market did not succeed. Bill was forced to sell Microprose to some new corporate overlords in 1993 named Spectrum Holobyte, and stepped down as head of the studio. Spectrum Holobyte would even take the Microprose name as it had better name recognition than their own. And as Sid had sold his shares to Bill years ago, it was official. Microprose wasn't really ours anymore. The corporate overlords were in charge now, and their new mandate was to crank out nothing but licensed slop. Civilization 2 happened to release while under their rule, but not really by their making. They predicted it would only sell 38,000 units. Civilization 2 would go on to sell over 1 million units. Brian and Sid were very happy with how Civ 2 released, but unfortunately it was the exception. Under their new management for several years, everyone at Microprose was being forced to work on licensed games that they may or may not care about at all. And there wasn't a sign that that was going to change anytime soon. They were worried that they wouldn't be able to make the games that they wanted to play anymore. So Sid, Brian, and composer Jeff Briggs, making 3, would plan to make their own company, where they could make what they wanted to make. The company would come to be called Firaxis, which is where Sid works to this day as creative development director. But at that time, they still had to get out of Microprose. The soon-to-be Firaxis boys' separation from their former company was amicable, if only because Spectrum Holobyte, wearing the skin suit of Microprose, knew that the 3 of these guys could carve out the insides of their company like a pumpkin if they wanted to. They could easily convince the rest of the employees to come with them to Firaxis if they so desired, and Microprose could probably try to sue the 3 of them if they did that, and it would be a giant mess for all parties involved. So the 3 of them simply backed away slowly with their hands up, fulfilling whatever obligations they had left, and then bailing. One of the consequences of this, though, was that Sid Meier, when he left for Firaxis, did not retain the rights to Civilization. The new Microprose guys could still make sequels to his original creation. They owned the IP now.
Your mattress giving you aches and pains? At Mattress Firm, our sleep experts can match you with a more supportive mattress, like Sealy Posture.
The history of the Civilization IP is relatively complicated, and it involves Hasbro making at one point. All of the events are described by Sid in his book as corporate shenanigans, which I think is an accurate summary. But let me try to explain it with the actual details as simply as I can. Francis Tresham of England in 1980 makes the board game Civilization through the company Heartland Trefoil. It gets licensed for release in the US by a company called Avalon Hill. Sid never played the board game, but Bruce Shelley was a previous Avalon Hill employee, so it's possible the board game had some influence on the computer game, though not through the guy who coded the entire thing. Bill Steely works out a deal with Avalon Hill to share the Civilization name rights for a small fee and a cross-promotional flyer in every box. So, Civilization 1 for the computer gets released, and it explodes in popularity. Avalon Hill, the owner of the Civ board game, gets jealous and makes their own computer game called Advanced Civilization. Civilization 2 for the computer then comes out. Sid, Brian, and Jeff all leave Microprose to create Firaxis, and then things get weird, because Avalon Hill licenses their Civilization board game rights out to Activision to have them make a video game called Civilization Call to Power, and both of them sue Microprose for copyright infringement. Activision had the money, and Avalon Hill had the legal standing. Well, the new corporate overlords at Microprose, which remember was previously known as Spectrum Holobyte, did not take kindly to this. Instead of countersuing, they made a bold business decision. They went to Heartland Trefoil. Remember, Heartland Trefoil are the original owners of the English board game Civilization, which was licensed out to Avalon Hill in the US. Microprose goes to Heartland Trefoil and buys the entire company, meaning that they now own the licensing rights to the original Civ board game, completely removing the legal ground that Avalon Hill was standing on. And then in the courtroom that day, I assume, the Microprose guys pointed at the Avalon Hill guys and said, nah, you don't have the licensing rights, and now we do, something to that effect. The Avalon Hill guys lost so much to Microprose's buyout of Heartland Trefoil that they were actually forced to sell their company to avoid bankruptcy. And who did they sell it to? American toy monger conglomerate Hasbro. And then, 8 days after buying Avalon Hill, Hasbro buys Microprose too. Talk about corporate shenanigans. Hasbro made one big push at using their newly acquired Civilization intellectual property in 1999. They released a game called Civilization 2: Test of Time and slapped their newly owned Microprose label on it. In the very same year, Activision releases their Civilization game, Civilization Call to Power, which again, the licensing rights were given out to Activision by Hasbro now. So we got 2 different Civ games, neither of them being made by Sid Meier. Sid Meier, sitting in his office in Firaxis, also releases a game in 1999, a spiritual successor to the Civilization series, although he couldn't use the name in the title. But with all this corporate nonsense about who owned the rights to what, Sid had a trump card. Hasbro didn't own his name. Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri would release the very same year as Hasbro's 2 Civ titles, and I'll give you a quick guess as to which one of these 3 was a hit.
I plan to live forever, of course, but barring that, I'd settle for a couple thousand years. Even 500 would be pretty nice.
And if you guessed Civilization in Space, you're correct! Only one of the 3 Civ games that came out in 1999 is remembered today. And it's the one that has Sid Meier's on the box. Which is when Hasbro realized something. They were never, ever going to profit from the Civilization IP without it being in Sid Meier's hands. So, in a shocking turn for what usually happens when a giant conglomerate gets a beloved old video game IP,
it's my IP to sit on and do nothing with.
Hasbro essentially handed over the rights to Firaxis, taking whatever cut they could get, and thus Sid Meier's name had gone from a mark of low confidence so long ago by the marketing department to not only being a stamp of quality for the consumer, but to being the deciding factor of his burgeoning indie studio winning out versus a corporate giant.
Save up to 60% off.
At all Chronic Superstores.
The Civilization series would continue in Firaxis' hands to this day, and to large success. They've had their share of flops like any studio, and people bicker about which Civ is the best one, but on the whole, Civilization has been a pretty consistently solid series, especially considered to a lot of other long-standing game series. And I can say that I've thoroughly enjoyed the ones that I've played. 4, 5, 6, and now Civilization 1. I'd like to end this video with the final paragraph of Sid Meier's book. I think that in life, as in game design, you have to find the fun. There is joy out there waiting to be discovered, but it might not be where you expect it. You can't decide what something's going to be before you embark on it, and you shouldn't stick with a bad idea just because you're fond of it. Take action as quickly and repeatedly as possible, take advantage of what you already know, and take liberties with tradition. But most importantly, take the time to appreciate the possibilities, and make sure all of your decisions are interesting ones. Hey there, thanks for watching to the end of the video. And a huge thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon and YouTube and Twitch. If you enjoyed this kind of video of me talking about a game developer, let me know who else I should talk about in the future. Valve Software! You know Valve. They made Portal 2, Left 4 Dead 2, Hat Simulator 2, Dota 2, Half-Life 2, 2-1, 2-2, and 2 Alex. And most recently, Deadlock. Not 2. Yet. But all those games, not to mention Steam and Valve itself, wouldn't be around if it wasn't for a very unique man. A man who lacks some basic numerical knowledge between 2 and 4.
Triple 3, as in you've killed 3 heroes.
I don't understand.
Yet is hailed by many as a genius. A man named Gabe Logan Newell. Gabe Newell has been in the industry for a while now, and he's been called many things. Game developer, tech mogul, multi-billionaire, part-time Ringo, handsome with a charming personality, and my personal favorite, Chief Fat. But more than any of those, people usually just call him Gaben.
I can be reached at gaben@valvesoftware.com. Thanks, and have fun.
The basic knowledge most people have on Gaben is this, right? He's the Valve head honcho, he's a big fat guy, and he gives me big fat Steam sales. Well, first of all, not fat anymore. Way to go, Gaben. Looking good, my man. But secondly, although those other two things are true, they're not the whole picture. As I'm sure many of you did, I grew up playing Valve games. I would see memes of Gabe everywhere on the internet and had that same surface level knowledge. But recently, I started thinking, I want to know more. More than just the Gabe can't count to 3 jokes. I wanted to know just who is Gaben. I seek to answer that question in this video as best as I can, because I've done a lot of reading, a lot of listening,
and make leather out of pumpkins.
Absolutely true. And a lot of watching interviews, and I want to share the best, most interesting parts of Gabe's story with all of you. Just like in my last video, I'm going to do my best to cover it from start to finish. And by the way, let me know your recommendations for other devs that I should cover in the future down below. There were a lot of great suggestions on the last video, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. There were also a lot of suggestions for what the title of this series should be called, although they varied wildly in quality. Keep it up, fellas. Real proud of you. I might just change the name of it every video. We'll see. Anyway, I'm Varrock, and I'd like to welcome you to this game dev documentary. A Varrockumentary, if you will, on Gabe Newell. I want to tell you how Gabe got his start, becoming a millionaire before Gordon Freeman was even a twinkle in his eye. I want to tell you about how Doom heavily influenced Gabe and Valve as a whole. And if you stick around to the end, you'll get to hear about the weird things that Gabe has invested his billions into. It ranges from literal science fiction to charity to webcomic patronage. You're gonna want to hear about it. So sit back, relax, get a drink, and enjoy as I spin you the tale of the legendary Gabe Newell. First, a quick message. Thank you to today's sponsor, World of Warships. World of Warships is a highly detailed game with a highly active community that made me realize I am highly bad at boat warfare. You give me a boat, I just want to ram people. It's a terrible strategy, but God, it feels good. See all these guns? I don't need them. They're for you. You come try them out. The game's got new stuff to check out every month, too. It's got more than 40 unique maps with dynamic weather effects, which means you get the real boat experience. It really makes you feel like you're an aircraft carrier about to make a terrible strategic decision. Or you can use a battleship, a destroyer, or a cruiser, or even a submarine if you're into that. Little baby, you want to go hide underwater? Go on, pick it. I won't tell anybody. If you like action and strategy, you'll enjoy World of Warships. Register for a new account via code BRAVO or click the link in my description, and you'll get 7 days premium account time, 1.5 million credits, and 500 doubloons. Complete 10 battles, and you can even get your choice of one of these cool guys. So click the link below and enjoy. Thank you again to World of Warships. Now, back to the video! World of Warships, now back to the video! Gabe Newell was born on November 2nd, Episode 1, 1962, and came directly out of the womb eating Miracle Whipped Wonder Bread with lunch meat.
Remember when he brought in all the Wonder Bread and lunch meat? Like revealing your white trash roots, Gabe. No, Miracle Whip is awesome.
Okay, I just had to get all that out of my system. Okay, now for real this time. We're good.
Gabe likes Miracle Whip.
Gabe Newell was born in Colorado on November 3rd, 1962. He enjoyed the typical childhood pastimes of biking around town and, according to this photograph, communing with squirrels via his druidic powers. But unlike many other children at the time, he took an early interest in computers. Gabe would attend Davis Senior High School in California, graduating in 1980. He evidently performed quite well in school because he would then go on to become a freshman at one of the country's most prestigious universities, Harvard. Harvard served Gabe adequately well for about 3 years, from 1980 to 1983. No, I'm not doing the 3 thing on purpose, it really was 3 years. Anyway, it's 1983, and the young adult Gabe then takes some time off from his studies to visit his brother, who got a job in Seattle, Washington, at this quickly rising tech company called Microsoft. For context, Microsoft had been in business at this point in time for about 8 years with under 300 employees. They weren't the behemoth that they are today, but they were doing well for themselves, making bank on their MS-DOS operating system royalties, with big dreams of expansion. According to InfoWorld around this time, quote, "Some insiders say Microsoft is attempting to be the IBM of the software industry." IBM was the big dog at the time, so to put it in modern parlance, this was a big f***ing deal. There's enough history there for its own video, but for now, all you need to know is this. Microsoft was relatively small, growing fast, very profitable, and filled with talented people for a young Gabe Newell to learn as much as he could from soon enough. But he would have to get there first. So Gabe packed up all the things he needed to go visit his brother. He had no intention of working for Microsoft at that point in time. All he knew was that he wanted to spend time with his brother and see the sights in Seattle. You know, the Space Needle and the homeless people and whatever. Turns out, though, Brother Newell wasn't down to just gallivant around town. Mr. Gates wasn't letting him off the hook that easy. He had to go work. But that wasn't so bad as far as Gabe was concerned. He just figured, well, I'm already here. I want to spend time with my brother. I like computers and don't mind being around a bunch of sweaty nerds all day. Why don't I just hang out with him at work? So that's exactly what he did. Gabe Newell hung out around the Microsoft offices with his brother. Now, I don't know what Gabe was getting up to, but apparently it annoyed the hell out of Steve Ballmer. For those of you who aren't familiar, Steve Ballmer was a big figure at Microsoft, head of sales at the time in 1983, and well known for publicly yelling and sweating a lot.
Developers, 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 developers. Developers, 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 developers.
He would even be CEO of the company later from 2000 to 2014. Here's some clips from my favorite video of him ever made.
How much do you think this advanced operating environment is worth? Wait just 1 minute before you answer. Now we can take this Ferrari. Traversi. No, it's just $99. That's right. It's Windows from Microsoft. Order today. P.O. Box 286 DOS, except in Nebraska.
I never get tired of that video. It's just the way he says everything. This Ferrari, no, it's only $99. Anyway, like I was saying, Gabe hanging around the offices all day was annoying the hell out of Steve Ballmer. It got to the point where Ballmer finally said to him, if you're gonna take up space around here all day, you might as well be productive. Drop out of Harvard right now, Gabe Newell, and get to work on Windows! Okay, he may not have said that last part word for word, but that was basically the idea. And Gabe actually found that idea somewhat appealing. After all, he liked computers, and he was interested in software development, and Harvard wasn't really providing what he was looking for at that point. So, Gabe would hang around their offices for another 3 months, this time while trying to be productive, trying to learn and be useful. Gabe would go on to describe those 3 months as being an extremely educational experience for him, more than his university could provide. Not to bang on Harvard, but I learned more in 3 months with those guys at Microsoft than I did the entire time I was at Harvard. At Harvard, I learned how to drink beer while doing a headstand in the snow, which, you know, is a useful skill, but not nearly as useful as how to actually develop software.
At Harvard, I learned how to drink beer while doing a headstand in the snow. So, which, you know, it's a useful skill, but not nearly as useful as how to actually develop software.
So, Gabe soaked up all the knowledge he could from the likes of Tom Corbett, Neil Konzen, and Steve Wood, describing it as the most intense and valuable educational experience I've ever had. And apparently, after those 3 months, Ballmer's words must have rang true to Gabe. He was convinced. He said, screw it, I'm dropping out, and was officially given a job at Microsoft, becoming their 271st employee. You might be thinking that's a bit of a bold decision, dropping out of one of the most prestigious universities after 3 years there, but it also fit the theme for that particular company. After all, Microsoft was founded by a couple of college dropouts, Bill Gates specifically being a Harvard dropout himself. Granted, Bill dropped out only after a few months, and Gabe did after investing several years, but obviously I think it worked out alright for him considering he's a multi-billionaire now. Remember though, kids, stay in school, because dropping out is not typically a pipeline to fame and fortune. That is, of course, unless you're Gabe Newell, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Steven Spielberg, Oprah Winfrey, Mark Zuckerberg, Michael Dell, Steve Wozniak, Brad Pitt, Lady Gaga, Eddie Murphy, Sean Diddy Cody. No, wait, fuck, go back. Anyway, despite the strange way he entered into the company, Gabe would prove a highly valuable member of the team. He held a variety of roles and worked on many different projects during his time at Microsoft, including working on their brand spanking new Windows operating system. Look! It has a graphical user interface. It uses this new little thing called a mouse. Nobody likes the mouse, it's stupid, and it'll probably never catch on, but it's cute. They even hid an Easter egg in the code. It was encrypted and hidden within a bitmap file, so it wasn't discovered until very recently. Credit to Lucas Brooks on Twitter for finding it. Check it out. It's a list of the people who worked on Windows 1.0. And there's Gabe Ed. Gabe was an extremely hard worker at Microsoft. He even earned the nickname Madman Newell at one point, due to him bringing a sleeping bag to work so that he could code around the clock for an entire month. With all this work, Gabe would be involved with the first couple releases of Windows and hold various positions on different projects at the company from 1983 to 1996. It was 13 long and lucrative years for Gabe and for everyone at Microsoft. And when I say lucrative, I mean loads of money. I'm talking your coworkers are deciding on a whim to buy a farm or a bowling alley, or they're showing up in a new sports car to work. Let me tell you a little bit about the Microsoft millionaires.
Add auto pitch to my dog's Awu. Now I'm going to chop up our Awu.
A little bit about the Microsoft millionaires. Jump back in time for a second. It's 1986. Gabe's been working for Microsoft for 3 years now, and the company is making the big decision to go public. This means Microsoft stocks are now up for grabs. What this also means is that Bill Gates can give stock options to his employees as compensation for all the extreme overtime they've been cramming in. Employees like Madman Newell. What would happen next was described by many Microsoft employees as akin to winning the lottery, because the stock saw a sharp increase the very day that it went public, but that was nothing compared to what it would do for those who were patient. Over the next 10 years, Microsoft stock would grow in value nearly 100 times over. It's estimated that Microsoft created approximately 10,000 millionaires by the year 2000 because of this. Not everyone who got stock options sold them at the same time, of course, so obviously some made more than others depending on their luck and their patience. But those who cashed out big were going nuts with it. They were buying sports leagues and restaurants because that's what you do when you're a programming nerd that suddenly has more money than you know what to do with. Others decided to get into philanthropy or activism. And of course, there were those that tried to start their own companies, with varying levels of success, ranging from, sweet, I achieved my dream, now I have even more money, to, please, Mr. Gates, can I have my job back? It's not known exactly how much Gabe made from all of this, but we know he did well. Well enough that he could take the risk of funding and building a dream someday if he wanted to. Now, he just needed the dream. So, what would it take to sow the seeds of inspiration for Gabe Newell? How about a game where you rip apart demons in hell with a chainsaw? How about playing it at 2 in the morning and getting scared shitless by a cacodemon? Enter Doom! The original one, from 1993, made by id Software. Doom was the inspirational push that got Gabe thinking, wow, you can do this with video games? You can make people react, make them have fun, even make them feel scared? Soon, Gabe would be bringing Doom into the Microsoft offices on a laptop, showing it off to anyone that he could, saying, look what PC games can do. This is a lot better than your NES system or your Sega system. Turns out, he wasn't the only one excited about it. 2 things would happen after that. 1, Microsoft wanted a Windows port of Doom. Most people, if they were playing PC games at the time, were playing them on DOS and not Windows. Microsoft was looking to change that. So, according to several interviews with Gabe, he called up John Carmack at id Software to make them an offer. I'm going to paraphrase Gabe's recollection of how that phone call went and just embellish it a little bit. Hey, Johnny! Johnny C! Gabe said calmly. I know you hate Microsoft and you think we're stuffy and all that, but listen, I'm built different. What if we made a port of Doom for you for free? You get to sell it and keep all the profits, and we get to prove that Windows can run video games. John Carmack heard all of that and then said, death to Microsoft! Yeah, okay, alright, and gave them the source code. Long story short, bada bing, bada boom, Gabe leads Win Doom, and it's shown off at the Computer Game Development Conference in 1994, where everybody goes, games on Windows? It was through this porting project that Gabe would get to know some of the people at id Software, an important connection for his future career. More on that in a bit. Because back to my 2 things that happened, thing number 2. Microsoft commissions a study around 1995, around the same time as the Doom Windows porting project is going on, because they wanted to find out, are our sales numbers as good as we think they are? Are people adapting to our Windows software when they buy a computer it comes packaged with, or are they uninstalling Windows the moment after unboxing their PC? Well, the results were a bit surprising for Microsoft. The good news for them was that people really were adopting Windows. According to the study that they commissioned, Windows was at the number 2 spot for all software downloaded to people's computers. You may say, number 2? Well, yeah, but number 2 out of all software possible is still pretty good. That was a good sign. However, the bad news was that number 1 spot, it wasn't a different Microsoft product, and it wasn't Apple, and it wasn't IBM or some other big software giant. The most popular thing found on people's computers in 1995 was porn and video games.
Well, it turns out they're using them for porn and video games.
Now look, I don't know what people were spanking it to specifically, but I can tell you the video game. And hopefully the video game was not also the subject of the spanking. You never know. You could take a wild guess what it was, though. The video game was Doom, baby!
Number 1 college essential is that I have to spend at least 1 night a week with just me and my roommates, and of course, some good food.
The subject of the spanking, you never know. You could take a wild guess what it was, though. The video game was Doom, baby! The results of this study lit a fire under Microsoft to really get that port complete. Teams shifted around and Microsoft would eventually release a Windows port. Doom 95 with DirectX by way of Alex St. John. The study also lit a fire, specifically under Bill Gates, who once ran the idea by Alex St. John of buying out id Software entirely. Because that's what you do when you have that kind of money. These people are annoying me. Maybe I should purchase them. Of course, the guys at id Software would never allow Microsoft to buy them. Now, ZeniMax Media buying them in 2009, that's fine. Then Microsoft would buy ZeniMax 10 years later. Welcome to Xbox, boys. Story for another time. Anyway, back to Gabe and Doom. The results of this study were shocking. And where Bill Gates would consider simply buying out id Software, Gabe Newell was more interested in learning from them.
So somehow, the largest software company in the world is being out-distributed by a 12-person company in Mesquite, Texas. And there was no conception, there's no model for why this made any sense. How could they possibly have done that, right?
He needed to learn more. What was happening here? Well, he learned for one thing that id did not require a huge sales team like Microsoft was so concerned about. They relied on a vastly different method of selling their product. One that Gabe preferred over his own companies. A method that was much more direct. What the guys at id decided on was that they would sell the game directly to the customer. They only bought one ad for the game, figuring the mainstream press wasn't interested in them anyway. They focused instead on leveraging something called shareware, which in 1995 was basically the fancy word for a demo. They'd go to stores with their shareware version of Doom, which only had the first episode levels on it, and they would say, you sell this to people for literally any price you want, we don't care. Because what they were relying on was that people would play the shareware version and want to play the full game after they were done. And if they wanted the full game, they'd need to buy it directly from id Software, straight from developer to customer. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? This directness from developer to customer is something that obviously inspired Gabe. This was the polar opposite of Microsoft's model. Microsoft's model was all about dealing with resellers, middlemen, people who would come to Microsoft, literally buy a pallet full of Microsoft products and say, thanks for selling it to me, now I'm going to sell this to other stores that will sell it to other people. An indirect model of developer to reseller to store to customer. A model that almost couldn't be more indirect if it tried. And it was getting worse, because at the same time that Doom was enjoying its insane popularity with its more direct model, Gabe recalls that arguments were being had at Microsoft about how to better do sales. Not to make them more direct, though. The arguments being had, according to Gabe, at Microsoft at the time were not about if they should work with resellers or not, but with how big of a sales team they needed to work with resellers. Perhaps a 500-person sales team to work with resellers. Point being, Gabe did not like how disconnected Microsoft was becoming from their customers. And at this point, he was doubting whether he'd stay at Microsoft for much longer. This was about the time Microsoft was making the transition from cool, agile software company that was whipping IBM's butt to evil empire status. So, working on games kept sounding more and more attractive. Gabe was ready. He had ideas about how he could do things better, but you can't do these things alone. It would take a couple talented fellow Microsoft employees to help him make the final push. Enter the Twin Michaels! Specifically, Mike Harrington and Michael Abrash. Mike Harrington, like Gabe, was also starting to get tired of Microsoft and was lucky enough to have stock options to fund his exit. But where Mike saw his peers blowing their stock option wads on retirement with a sports league or a farm, he wanted something else. He wanted to make games. So Mike asked around Microsoft's offices to see if anyone else was down for leaving and starting a game studio. But most people he spoke to, unfortunately, weren't interested. That is, except for Gabe Newell. Apparently, they meshed together quite well, and quite quickly, because the story of how they partnered up is short. It happened like this, right? And I'm only slightly embellishing here. Gabe is eating lunch, scratching his chin, thinking, 3D action game. Mike sits down next to him, says, "Video game?" And Gabe says, "Yes." And thus the future Valve co-founders became a team. They needed one more connection to make things work, though. This is where the other Michael would come into play. Michael Abrash, a talented man, friend to Gabe and Mike, programming hero of John Carmack, and fellow Microsoft employee. That is, until he left Microsoft, much to the chagrin of Bill Gates, to go work at id Software. According to Gabe, Abrash kept telling Mike Harrington and I how cool working on games was. Gabe and Mike were periodically getting hit up by Abrash just so that he could say, "Hey, you guys should stop working at Microsoft and start a games company." And they took him up on it. They didn't really need much more encouragement than that. Abrash loved telling them specifically about the new and tasty game engine that he was working on, called the Quake engine.
One card, 2 ways to pay. Get a debit card that lets you pay later. Sign up with Klarna now. No credit impact to apply.
Highly confident in his work on this engine, going as far as saying that Quake will be the worst game done on the Quake engine. And he liked Quake. That's just the level of potential Abrash felt that the engine had. So much so that he suggested Gabe and Mike license the engine for their own uses. You guys want to make a video game? I think this is the best engine for the job. Come to id Software and get it. Evidently, they agreed, because they'd soon hit the road to go visit id's studio in Texas. The goal of this visit was twofold: to get the Quake engine licensed for their potential first video game, of course, but also to learn some tips about what the hell they were even doing in making a video game. The future Valve boys knew that they wanted to make a 3D action game, and they were both veterans of the software industry, but just because you're a computer engineer doesn't mean that you actually know how to make a compelling video game. They needed to learn from the best. And at the time, who better to ask than the guys who made the #1 software beating Windows? Only problem, id Software did not particularly like Microsoft. They'd take a deal where their game gets ported for free and they get to keep all the profit. Sure, who wouldn't? They'd poach Microsoft's programmers if they really respected the individual, like Michael Abrash. Sure, but they weren't keen on a couple of Microsoft guys taking their game engine to go make something with it. id basically considered themselves the total opposite of Microsoft philosophically. It's 1996, Microsoft is a software giant eating up the entire market, and we're id Software. We're the rebels, the guys sticking it to the man with our subversive, gory video games. It would take mediator Michael Abrash to make the meeting work. As an ex-Microsoft employee himself, he was willing to vouch in favor of Gabe and Mike, and the guys at id apparently listened. So, after Abrash succeeded that persuasion check, the future Valve boys would make their way to id's Texas studio. Apparently, the arrival of Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington was met with brutal unenthusiasm from the id Software team. That is, from everyone except for their one friend, Michael Abrash, who remembers the event like this. Quote, "I don't recall that when they came down to id there was a lot of great chemistry. Let's put it this way. It wasn't like when 9 Inch Nails came to visit. That was a cool thing. These were the guys that worked on stuff like Microsoft Bob and home automation. You're not going to walk into the coolest game company on the face of the earth and have the guys say, 'Wow, nice to hang out with you.'" Abrash recalls that he was essentially the only one at id Software who had any optimism in what Gabe and Mike were going to do with the Quake engine. But the future Valve co-founders were able to put that tension aside and get what they needed. They spoke with John Romero, got some vital tips about how to start a game development company, left with the source code to Quake on a CD before they even officially licensed the engine thanks to Abe.
Bruh. Left with Quake.
To Abrash, and they left with a mission to make their own original video game. They were ready to prove that their success wasn't just piggybacking off of Microsoft or anybody else, that they could build something themselves from the ground up. So they quit their safe, stable corporate jobs, and that year, August 24th of 1996, on the same day that Gabe gets married, because we have to make all of our huge life changes at the same time, Gabe and Mike would officially co-found their new game development company together. They threw some different names around for it at first. They wanted something weird, because every 3D action shooter of the time had sort of a meathead vibe going on. Not that that doesn't have its place, they both liked Doom, but they wanted their company name to stand out in that crowd. Initially, they thought they might call their company Holobots, but of course, they would settle on the name that everyone knows them as today. Now they just needed to make a game. Valve's first game would be called Half-Life. But before it would be called Half-Life, it would be called Quiver. And before it would be called Quiver, it was called, oh shit, we don't have anybody who knows how to make video games. Get on the phone and call everybody at Microsoft. So the boys did a lot of elevator
Call everybody at Microsoft.
Hey, we're making a game. We're stepping out on our own. This will be an amazing opportunity. You guys want in? And they received mild success in doing this.
Some of the people that we thought were going to join us at the beginning didn't. You know, we were like, let's go, let's storm the castle. And then there's like, where'd everybody go?
But hey, some success is better than none. It wasn't as many people joining as they had hoped, but they did manage to convince a few other people at Microsoft to come with them. Gabe, Mike, and these new ex-Microsoft pals all had useful computer knowledge of some sort, but just because you know how to code doesn't mean that you know how to make a good level or create a good monster for your game. Fortunately, they were able to round out their team with some hires from other game companies, like Harry E. Teasley, artist and designer at Shiny Entertainment, or Chuck Jones, artist who had just recently worked on Duke Nukem 3D at 3D Realms. Fun fact, this artist would also later work on Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, piece of cake.
Okay, now they had some experienced gaming knowledge in-house. Good, but not quite enough to make a full team. This is when Gabe remembered to reach into his back pocket for the list of tips that John Romero gave him. The only thing written on the piece of paper said, always put a giant, fully modeled insert of your own head into your video game. People love it, it works every time. And Gabe said, no, wait, hold on, this is the wrong one. And then he pulled out the other piece of paper that John Romero gave him. This piece of paper had a list of names on it. These were the names of people that were making waves in the Quake modding scene. People that were talented and creative, but would never normally be sought after by most major software companies at the time. Mostly, they were just young guys who were dicking around with video games in their free time and had no idea that they were about to receive an email from a millionaire in Seattle offering them a job. Location? Florida. Steve Bond and John Guthrie are making Quake mods and managing a fan site called Quake Command in their spare time. That is, when they're not delivering pizzas, going to classes, or parrying chairs as the manager of the local Waffle House.
The creature designer for most of the AI for the creatures in the game was a manager at a Waffle House.
One day, they receive a sketchy-looking email from some guy named Gabe Newell. Now, I want you to just put yourself in their shoes for a second. You're a young guy, you're going to college, you're working, you're making mods for your favorite game when you can, and then you randomly get an email that says, hey dude, me and some other millionaires are going to make Quake, but better. Do you want a job doing that? Call me. Obviously, Steve and John assumed this was a scam, so they ignored it. That is, until curiosity got the better of Steve in particular, who I'm sure was dreaming about what it would be like to not work at a Waffle House, so he finally decided to call the number. According to John Guthrie, that day, Gabe bought Steve a plane ticket, a rental car, and a hotel room. Steve was standing at the airport, waiting for the electronic ticket to come through, and he kept saying, this has got to be a joke. Of course, as we know now, it wasn't a joke, and Steve was given a few days in Seattle to hang out and make the decision whether or not he wanted to join the Valve team. He said yes, and ended up staying in Seattle. Now, John, back in Florida, was really realizing that Steve didn't actually get trafficked by the Nigerian Prince of Seattle, so he followed soon after on this opportunity too. The team that made Half-Life is full of stories like this because they were looking to hire anyone that they could that they felt had talent worth paying for. So now they had everything they needed to get started. That is, except someone who would sell their game. A publisher. Evidently, although Gabe would be inspired by Doom's directness to the customer when he helped create Steam, he didn't consider it a viable option for Valve at the time to self-publish Half-Life. I think it's worth pointing out that neither did id Software consider it a viable model after they published Doom, considering that they also grabbed a publisher so that they could get Doom 2 and Quake in stores those following years. Either way, they wanted a publisher, but no publisher wanted Valve. At first, they couldn't find anybody who would ship a game with them, despite Gabe and Mike's Microsoft veteran credentials. It was sort of weird going from Microsoft, where you were really respected, to going into a meeting with a game publisher who said, "Go away, stop bugging me, come back with credibility." According to Gabe, in one particularly bad meeting, Valve suggested that they would use a skeletal animation system for the characters in their game. Apparently, this idea was so far-fetched to the publisher that he immediately ended the presentation they were giving. The publisher said, "Okay, meeting's over." They didn't believe we could do it. Fortunately, they did finally secure one interested publisher in the company, Sierra, later called Sierra Studios. The head of that publisher at the time, Scott Lynch, recalls that the big question about Valve's potential game was this: is this just going to be new Quake levels? The Valve team assured them, no, it wasn't. This was going to be a game with its own unique story to tell and world to explore. This was no Quake expansion pack. With that reassurance, Sierra was all in. They made the agreement to be Valve's publisher for one game. And with that, it was time for Valve to get to work. And work they did. Mike Harrington would come to be known as the practical realist, as he was responsible for much of Half-Life's programming, whereas Gabe Newell would be described as the ambitious dreamer, as he was responsible for some of the key philosophies behind the game's design. As Ken Birdwell said in Valve's Half-Life documentary,
Gabe's dictate was, as you walk forward, something needs to happen like every 3 to 5 seconds. The player stands still,
Didn't have to be much.
The universe can be quiet. But if they move forward, if they're active, the universe needs to play back something, needs to do something, even if it is a scripted sequence or
even just an interesting sign or
a sound or some vignette or something.
Basically, Gabe wanted a game where the player was constantly bumping into interesting things to experience. Every little vignette in the game was trying to tell you something about the area you're in and how the story is proceeding.
For God's sake, open the silo door! They're coming for us! It's our only way out! Oh my God, we're doomed!
Another one of Gabe's contributions was enforcing the idea that the game should be reactive to the player.
My God, what are you doing?
Stop fucking with the microwave!
It was of prime importance to him that the game environment acknowledge the player's actions. If you shoot at the wall, it should make a mark on the wall. If you shoot at some soldiers, they should either shoot back or run away. We take this kind of thing for granted today, but Half-Life was one of the first action shooters to really kind of give a shit about this concept. And the fancy key word for this concept here is reinforcement. You do a thing, the environment rewards you by acknowledging your existence. Reinforcement was the key idea for Half-Life's development, and this was in opposition to those who were clamoring for the game to be more realistic. After all, smacking a crowbar on the wall shouldn't necessarily make a bullet hole, but you obviously want to smack the wall when you see it makes a mark on there so that you can start drawing stuff on the wall and making marks all over the fucking place. Here's what Gabe had to say about it.
And you'd have these conversations where you'd be sitting in a design review and somebody'd say, "That's not realistic." And you're like, okay, what does that have to, like, explain to me why that's interesting, because in the real world, I have to write up lists of stuff I have to go to the grocery store to buy. And I've never thought to myself that realism is fun. I go play games to have fun.
True and real.
Behold, reinforcement!
I cannot believe it has taken me this long to use the Wonder app. I haven't tried one dish from there that I haven't loved, and the process is so easy. Because you can choose dishes from multiple restaurants all in one order.
Gabe would have a few more influences on Half-Life through his interests at the time. When the game was in very early draft stages, he knew that he wanted it to have a horror element, something to scare the player like how he felt when he was playing Doom late at night. Gabe had been recently reading Stephen King's The Mist around then, and that book has a sense of tension that he wanted to emulate. You know, the kind of vibe where monsters are always hiding in the mist, or in Half-Life's case, monsters that would be always hiding around the next corner, down the hallway, or in the vents, ready to jump at you. Another inspiration that influenced the game involved the G-Man, who was based on Gabe Newell's interest at the time in the cigarette-smoking man from the X-Files. Some of Gabe's personal life influenced the game as well. If you've never seen the final boss of Half-Life, here it is! It's called the Nihilinth, and it looks like a giant creepy baby monster. There's a reason for that. I'll let Gabe's son explain.
The final boss of Half-Life 1, actually, the giant evil baby monster, is supposed to be me. When my mother was in childbirth, they were thinking, what's something really scary? And at the time, having a child seemed to be the most scary thing to everyone.
By this point, Half-Life had been in development for months, almost a year. Everyone was working away trying to make the best game that they could. There were plenty of good ideas being brought to life, but there was one huge problem. All the work being done did not have a coherent vision. One guy is making one level, this guy is making another level. Do they connect? Do they make sense when they're put back to back? The guys are beginning to realize, no, they don't. Oh shit, we're making a game that's supposed to have a cool narrative setting it apart from its competitors, and we don't have a coherent narrative. So, to assess the full damage, after months and months of work, they all sat down together in the same room for the first time to evaluate everything that they had made and realized none of it meshed. It wasn't fun.
You must have been in the meeting when we reviewed all the levels. It was like the first time everybody piled into a room.
Right.
And Gabe had his crazy Hellraiser chair with the beautiful Mac monitor. And we played, for 2 days, he played everyone's levels. But I remember one moment, he turned around, he was like this with his hair. He was going, we're going to fail, we're going to fail, we're going to fail, we're going to fail, we're going to fail. And I was just like, it blew me away. I was like, oh shit, this isn't good.
Valve had a holiday deadline coming up and just realized that their game sucked. They had an important decision to make. Do we ship the game as it is, or do we keep working on it? We should probably ship the game. After all, Sierra has already arranged for promotions and advertisements. They're expecting this to be their biggest game of the year, and delaying it could seriously damage the relationship between us. They're practically the only publisher that would say yes to us, so do we really want to do that? On top of that, the game has already been shown off at E3 to huge public excitement. That excitement comes with the expectation that it's coming out this year, the year we said it would come out, but the game isn't good. What do we do? It was a hard decision, but they ultimately decided to delay the game and keep working on it, even if it ended in a PR disaster. They basically told Sierra, hey, our game sucks, we're going to make it good, and we know you're not going to pay us for working on it further. After all, they had the good fortune of being led by men who could literally afford a bit of extra development time, as well as having the wisdom to decide to give it that time. Because, as Gabe figured, even if he had to pay out of pocket to keep the game in development,
late is just for a little while, suck is forever.
Which of course is a callback to the famous Shigeru Miyamoto quote, a bad game is forever. A delayed game is also bad. I hate video games. What did I say? Huh, bitch? But even Microsoft money only lasts so long, especially when you're paying the full-time salaries of roughly 30 people. Valve would now try to get the game entirely redeveloped, have all the levels feel cohesive, and do it as quickly as possible. They set a goal for the spring of 1998. When spring of 1998 came and left and the game still wasn't done yet, it was pushed to summer of 1998. Then fall of 1998. Delay. Some things never change with Valve, but it wasn't for no reason. After all, the game was being almost entirely remade from the ground up. That first year was like the test run for them on how to make a game. This second year, every level would gel with one another. It would all flow as a story, and it would be overall way more fun. That was the goal. And, as many of you know, Delaying the game worked. It worked really well. Half-Life would release in late 1998 to widespread critical and popular acclaim. Valve, despite their rocky and uncertain start, had knocked it out of the park on their very first release. They celebrated by smashing a headcrab piñata with a crowbar and then taking everyone and their families on a vacation to Mexico. Alright guys, I gotta be real with you for a bit. I am really disappointed in where this story goes from a narrative perspective, because I like looking into game developers for the work that they do on their games. And it turns out Gabe pretty much stops being a game developer, like, within this exact time period on. You know, just for most of Valve's history, that's all. After Half-Life 1 and 2, in fact, during Half-Life 2, I start seeing a lot less Gabe does something relating to Valve's video games, and a lot more Gabe hires a team that pitches him on an idea to do something. And I'll be happy to be proven wrong, but as far as I can tell, Gabe is never as involved with the game design as he was during Half-Life 1 ever again. So where do we go from here? Well, let me back up what I'm saying first so that you know I'm not just blowing smoke, and then we'll cover some more concrete information to end out the video. During Half-Life 2, Gabe intentionally backs off of the game's development, just a couple years into it, letting his team at Valve take the lead. His reasoning for this was that he wanted to be able to judge the team's work with fresh eyes, seeing it as their audience. But other than that, Gabe steps away to go work on Steam. Steam comes out. A year later, Half-Life 2 comes out on Steam, and then we enter an era where Gabe, like I said, is just hiring people to do a thing rather than doing a thing. Is he involved with these projects? Probably. To what extent? I don't know. The way Valve does the credits for their games doesn't help. Just completely f***ing void of any useful information. Throw everybody into a giant f***off list. And then we get to Portal 2. We know for a fact that Gabe was not involved very much with the development of Portal 2. You would know that if you were just looking at Valve's credits for the game, but I digress. He said it himself several times.
Half-Life 1 or Half-Life 2?
Portal 2. I worked less on Portal 2 than So if there's this problem that when you work on games, and it's a collection of flaws and regrets and mistakes.
Under a deadline.
Under a deadline. So Portal 2, which I worked on less, it's like much easier for me to appreciate as, oh wow, that's pretty good. Good job, guys.
Also happens to be a great game unto its own right, conveniently.
The reason why he didn't have much to do with it, well, the lead designer of Portal 2 explains it like this.
I think he always wanted to be part of the team, but being Gabe and being in his position, that never really worked, I feel, because people would be like, whatever you say, and I think he was more like, no, I want to like be part of the team and come up with ideas, and that was really hard for people. So I think there was a period where he kind of stepped back and was like, all right, I guess I'm just not going to be able to interact with everyone that way.
So it's actually really sad, because even if Gabe wanted to jump feet first back into game development, he might not be able to fit in, just because of his status of being Gabe Newell. And it's not like his status has decreased over time. So if that happened all the way back with Portal 2, I have to speculate and say I don't see why it would change for any future Valve game. To those of you commenting right now, just email him and ask. I did. A few different times. I never got a reply, and frankly, I didn't expect to. The man gets 1 billion emails a day, so I don't blame him. Although, I did find screenshots of people who got replies if they were in the hospital or wanted a deadlock code. Wait a minute, hold on. Gabe, if you're watching this, I would still love to know what your other contributions to other Valve games were. And by the way, I'm in the hospital, and I just really want to play Deadlock. I want to end the video on something a little different. Gabe is a very wealthy man due to that little money printer of his, so I thought it would be interesting to talk about where all that money goes. You gotta get some shit for number one first, of course. You buy a yacht, a giant knife collection, a Porsche. See you at the tournament. Thank you. A manservant that brings you your potato phone.
Gary, bring me the potato phone.
But he's also invested into charities, nonprofits, and research. For example, we'll start with Starfish. In 2024, he co-founded the company Starfish, which is researching the capabilities of neural interfacing, i.e. using your brain to interact with computers. This could be for entertainment purposes, for video games, among other things. Who knows what the possibilities are? You could say that Starfish was made just to be competitive with Elon Musk's Neuralink, but in my research for this video, I've found Gabe talking about neural interfacing as early as 2013. So he's obviously been thinking about this stuff for a long time.
And I think we're looking at really science fiction stuff happening sooner than people expect, in the sense that we're going to be able to drive your nervous system and read out of your nervous system sooner than people expect, and it'll be a consumer-grade technology sooner than people expect.
We've just recently seen that this technology can help disabled people greatly, which is amazing. There's also, of course, the possibility that this technology ends up creating some sort of cyberpunk dystopia or utopia. You take your pick. I imagine we'll see the outcome of all this within the next 10 years, or maybe as early as, I don't know, tomorrow. Who knows? Good luck, everybody.
The real world will stop being the metric that we apply to the best possible visual fidelity, and instead it's like the real world will seem flat, colorless, blurry compared to the experiences that you'll be able to create in people's brains.
Moving along from Starfish, Gabe is also the founder of an ocean research organization called Inkfish. Yes, apparently Gabe is big into ocean life. Inkfish calls themselves a philanthropic fundraising service. They collaborate with academics from all over the world to explore the depths, using well-designed submarines that can touch down to the literal bottom of the ocean. You know, the one place on our planet that we understand less than space. And I, for one, find it very refreshing, in a world where other billionaires make rickety joyrides out of submarines that horrifically kill people, to hear about a billionaire spending his money in a way that safely helps broaden our understanding of the ocean. So, bravo Gabe. Much more mundanely, Gabe is a longtime reader and supporter of the webcomic Questionable Content, at least as recently as 2020. I haven't read the webcomic myself, so I have no comment about its quality, but I do find it very funny that of all the major investments he's made, he also happens to give this one particular webcomic a few bucks a month on Patreon. He was even featured in the comic in 2007 after meeting the creator of the comic at SakuraCon and asking for a signed poster from him. In a very strange turn of events, Gabe is also the, quote, fairy godfather to a cooking website. This all happened when he bid on an auction at his son's middle school, buying an item that happened to be a personal dinner for 10. The two guys offering the dinner went over to the Newell household, and apparently their cooking blew everybody away. Gabe called it, quote, easily the best food I've ever had. So these two guys, Chris Young and Grant Crilly, would later form a company together called Chef Steps. And according to them, Gabe offered them help in the form of a low-interest loan. He was just so impressed with their cuisine that he thought they deserved some generous offer of funding. And lastly, I want to mention a couple of the most famous examples of Gabe's charity work. Gabe is the co-founder of a motorsports racing team called The Heart of Racing, which has supported donations to the Seattle Children's Hospital since 2014. In 2020, he made a significant donation to a different children's hospital, this one in New Zealand, called Starship. This donation was related to a partnership he made with Rocket Lab to send a gnome into space. It sounds silly because it is, but it was also a great way to draw out publicity for a good cause. For those who don't know, Half-Life 2 Episode 2 had an achievement for players who took this little gnome guy all the way to the end of the game and launched him off in a rocket. The achievement's called Little Rocket Man. He's in Left 4 Dead 2 as well, by the way. Well, Gabe was able to leverage this meme into some good for kids who need it, and offered to donate $1 per every live viewer of the launch on their website. The launch was a success, and it ultimately resulted in Gabe donating about $200,000 to the Starship Children's Hospital.
I love a good airport video.
On February 24th.
I love an airport smuggling video. We've got a 19-year-old caught at the airport with pounds of in luggage. I'm always intrigued to see this shit because, listen, flying with suitcases full of is an extremely common thing. Every time people get busted for it, when I see these clips of it, I'm like, wow, these guys are... But also, I think something that a lot of people don't realize is, especially when it comes to specifically, dude, people fly with pounds of luggage every day, especially at LAX. It's nuts. You will be standing in the security line, and if you don't smell a pound in someone's luggage, you're lucky for the day. I know numerous people who fly with hella weight just straight in their luggage on the regular. It is insane, but that is a uniquely LAX airport thing. At every other airport, that's not something that I really know people do, but here at LAX, it's almost like open season. It's very weird. So I'm curious what airports it's going to be at and what got. Let's see.
With 2025, airport officers were dispatched in response to a call from TSA after a checked suitcase was flagged during screening for an undeclared firearm and suspected.
Oh my! You can't do that. You can't, dude, bro. If it, honest to God, if he didn't have the gun in there, he might have been fine. Like legitimately, TSA doesn't care about your. They're not even trained to get, especially. If he, I'm not even joking. If this guy just slid the bag through with the in, and he probably would have been fine. The gun is 1,000,000% what did him in, without a doubt.
Yes, I'm from here.
Okay. Is one of your passengers?
Yes.
You know their name?
Oh, is this the area behind where you check your bag? Like they got all the front desk people. Is this actually? This is the first time I've ever seen back here. This is where your bag goes after you hand it to the gate agent or the desk agent. This is fire. I've never seen it back here. Sick. He just threw a Glock case right on top of a bunch of pounds and then checked it. Genius. Fucking genius. Brilliant. Perfectly packed. Very well concealed.
So let's go ahead and take that. That's 709. What phone number they have?
What unit number of vehicle do you have? So it has a picture of the information.
Oh! Got a laser on that bitch. Oh! Attachment 2. Wait a minute. Oh, he's got the sight. Okay. Can I say something? I feel like putting a sight on a pistol is like very overkill. I don't know. I've always found it goofy. Always found it goofy. There's just no reason you need a red dot on your Glock, I feel like. I don't know. I feel like that's so extra.
7 bags.
Oh my God. On top of the 7 Ps.
Copy 810.
Who discovered it? Okay. So what happened?
Well, bag alarmed, and I noticed that the bag wasn't properly locked. So I'm going to assess that. Initial alarm, of course, it wasn't alarmed.
You've ever done comp shooting of red dots way easier than irons and quicker? Yeah, I mean, I'm not comp shooting, so I personally have never put a red dot on any of my pistols. And also, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the guy with 7 pounds of directly under his Glock is also not a competitive shooter. I'm gonna, he might have just been trying to look cool.
For a declaration, which wasn't there. No, I was looking for the declaration. That's what we noticed this bag.
Why did the bag initially alarm?
It wasn't properly locked.
Okay.
It should be locked. And
oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. He didn't even properly store the gun either. The Glock cases don't lock. You could put a lock on it, which I think might make it compatible, but like there's not. He obviously didn't have that. There's also no like you can put a lock in the gun, right? There's none of that. Yeah, this guy's fucked. This guy's fucked.
Well, I can smell it as soon as I walk in.
Yeah, I couldn't. Normally I can't.
What an idiot.
Yeah, as soon as I walk right here, I can smell it, even though it was sealed. I just got to identify the guy in. If he says, hey, on my back, I didn't do anything, regardless of what he says, what do you think is a good idea for us to do? Check video. So we can get with the backpack, we can see what time he checked in, and we know how he looks.
and then get an MCR to give us cameras, see him walking in the backpack, checking it in.
Using the baggage tag and airline confirmation number attached to the suitcase, officers were able to identify the passenger associated with the bag. With assistance from airline personnel, the passenger was located at the check-in counter where officers made contact.
Okay, that's interesting, because initially I was like, what do you mean? This bag is attached to a boarding pass. Obviously, they always tag it when it goes through checking. They must immediately know the passenger, but that brings up a good point, actually. One passenger could go through the gate and go through security after someone else maybe uses their boarding information to get a bag through on a plane and then go collect it at a destination. So the bag having a tag on it wouldn't necessarily prove guilt yet. They need to actually see the video of this guy handing the bag over. So otherwise, there's room for maybe someone could have set him up, right? You never know. Like, for example, you know, if I didn't board a flight yet, let's say, like, my flight's at 3 p.m. and some guy somehow gets a hold of my boarding pass or get my flight information, shows up at you know, noon and checks a bag for me and then never goes through TSA, and then I show up and go through TSA, that could get me in a lot of trouble. So, yeah, all right. Makes sense that they gotta check the cameras.
She has on one? No, but she wasn't on one?
Is it him?
Wilkerson?
This, oh!
Hey, can you take off
oh, you can tell. Oh, the way he turned around, he's. Oh, God. Oh. Dude, I can't imagine being this guy right now.
Just put it on the ground. You're just being detained at this time.
Let him get the cuffs on, and then we'll tell you what's going on, okay?
Thank you.
709, we got one.
Yeah.
Detained in cuffs. All right, we can go sit over here. We'll grab your backpack. You can have a seat right here.
Do you have any checked luggage?
No.
You don't?
That's all my luggage right there.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't check it back?
No.
How do you pronounce your first name?
Lamont, L-A-M-O-N-T.
And what's your last name?
Wilkerson, W-I-L-K-E-R.
Damn, they aired him the fuck out, dude. Lamont Wilkerson just got exposed, dude.
Okay. Did he check it back?
I'm not sure.
What's your little brother's last name?
Same as yours?
No. You right there. You right there, talk to the lady.
Black jacket?
Yes.
Does it match yours?
Sir, are you traveling with this gentleman right here? Are you traveling with this gentleman right here? Can we get you to step around the corner and speak with us as well?
Whoa,
Go ahead, grab your bag.
okay.
Whether you're a pro or want pro quality, Harbor Freight understands your job depends on reliable tools.
Oh, they're gonna run his friend's luggage too, dude. No. No, his homie just got fucked. No.
Yes. Have a seat and we'll explain it.
No.
So, this is your brother. Yeah. We'll come over here. Blood related, or how come you guys don't have the same last name?
What? I'm trying to see what's going on, though.
Okay. Did you guys check in the bag?
Check in?
Yep. Under the plane. Is it your bag or is it his bag?
What? What bag?
The bag that's under Wilkerson's name.
What happened?
Hey, so you didn't check it back? You don't know if he checked the bag?
Man, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay, alright, that's not a very good. Okay. Just not a good answer, Lamont. That is not a good answer.
My mind everywhere now. I'm handcuffed.
I'm not sure it's early in the morning. I'm going to prison, dude. That's bad. Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
We have a bag that was checked under Wilkerson's name, okay? That's why we're here. So we're just trying to figure out what's going on, why TSA called us over here in reference to that bag. Do you have any idea of what I'm talking about?
What makes this significantly worse is that these guys are also at the worst airport in America. They are at Boston Logan International, which I'm telling you right now from personal experience, flying out of it multiple times, is quite literally the single worst airport in the entire country. We'll get to why later, but we'll finish this first.
Well, if it doesn't involve you, so did you check in the bag? Do you have any luggage under the plane?
At least take me to jail at, like, a nice airport.
Yeah, that's my better.
So he has luggage?
Yeah, y'all got luggage, yeah.
Okay, that you guys checked in under the plane?
Yeah.
Okay. What bag? Did you have a marking on your bag?
Nah, that's just that the flower bag. That's the only bag we check in.
Okay, did he check it in or did you check it in?
It ain't.
So why are you flying to Chicago? You're Indiana.
No, I just came to visit I just went down.
Wait, he's flying to Chicago from Indiana with 7 pounds of gun? Is this guy fucking retarded? What? Nah, that actually is crazy. That's fucking nuts, dude.
Oh.
They just said Chicago. Why are you flying Chicago to Indiana? He's in Boston right now, but at some point he must have flown there, or maybe that's his layover. Maybe from Boston he's going to Indiana, and then... What? This makes no sense. This whole thing makes no sense. I mean, obviously, listen, to begin with, if you're putting a gun in your luggage with the same suitcase, your logic's already fucked to begin with. But, like, I just wouldn't even take this risk, dude. I would not even take this risk. Like, this is just crazy. Even hypothetically, let's say he's in Boston right now and he needs to end up at fucking wherever the fuck. I don't know. Well, let's say he needs to end up in Chicago. That's still like a 30-hour drive, you know? He has a friend with him. They each do 15 and just get it going. I mean, way safer than this shit, at least.
Okay. From Indiana, I went to the Midwest Chicago.
Okay. Okay.
I've been down there all week.
Okay. So is there...
Wait, I'm a little confused, though, because the cop is mentioning Indiana and Chicago, but earlier in the video they mentioned Logan Airport. So I'm a little confused to where we are.
Any reason why TSA would have called us?
Doesn't really matter, though. Either way, they're at the airport with a fucking gun and 7 pounds.
We're investigating, and we're trying to figure out what's in the bag, why TSA would call us for this bag. And they identified this bag, which comes back to your brother.
My flight. What's going on? Like, I get something.
So you're just detained right now.
Hold on, really quick. I'm going to pause and see if we can read the destination on his boarding pass. The cop just held it up briefly there. It's coming up right here. Fuck! Fuck, it's too blurry. Too blurry. Okay, I can't really make it out.
Comes back to your brother.
My flight. What's going on? Like, I get something.
So you're just detained right now. We have a bag under your name, so that's why we're asking if you checked the bag.
Under my name?
Yeah.
Okay. I was literally just gonna pay for the
Okay.
Oh, no. Do you want to stay with your brother, or do you want to go catch a flight? I mean, if you're not saying the bag's yours, I mean, it's not yours. If you didn't check it in, you didn't check it in, he checked it in, then we just gotta ask him some few more questions. So,
yeah, what happened?
He said it was a floral with flowers on it. Okay. But they just said they checked in one bag. Okay. All together, but it was his bag that they checked in.
What bag? The name on it?
His name.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. I like it.
So, I mean, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. So if you didn't check any bags, then we just gotta talk to him. If you said that was his bag.
We have a bag under your name.
You have a bag on my name?
Yeah.
Oh, and it must contain something that you should contain.
Please take your scarlet and head
I don't know how
passenger gate 13-6, Delta 6.
I take my carry-on real quick.
You can go check your carry-on. Okay, so you told me you didn't check in the bag, but your brother said you did check in the bag. So you
Wait, did he just go check his... Wait, hold on. That is a very important detail. If he just went and checked his carry-on, I say with near certainty there's something in that carry-on that should not be in there. This guy just suddenly, as the cops here, is like, yo, get this bag the fuck away from me. Dude.
You did check in the bag? I haven't checked in.
Yo, what does he have in there?
I can't speak to nobody else. Okay. These are my two bags. I'll go through them. There's money in one of them.
Are you a homeowner? At Free Tax USA, we help make your taxes easy.
Good thing I'm not a homeowner.
Everyone qualifies for free federal...
These are my two bags.
Yeah, they do qualify. Good thing I'm not a homeowner.
I ain't gonna lie, I don't know. She just told me she called it back.
No,
that's my name.
It's crazy.
Do you have a time on that ticket? You can call NCR and find out exactly
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Issue date 6:08 a.m.
And he said he didn't check the bag.
No, but his brother said that was his bag that he checked, but he's saying he didn't check any bag. So we're just trying to figure out whose bag it is. Your brother already said it's your bag.
It's my bag?
Yeah, it was a floral bag. He said it was yours. You checked it in, okay? That's where we're at. But then you're telling me it's not your bag. So I got two different stories.
I ain't trying to be a capital owner.
So why is it checked in under your name?
I'm not sure. It's been all type of complications with me getting through. They said I was fine at first when I came through because my last name didn't say Junior because I'm a junior and they was gonna say it was my dad. And they weren't gonna let me through. I was having a problem with that at first. I've been having problems since I got here.
Oh, he's going to prison.
It's 5 a.m.
I understand. So you're saying these are the only two bags you came with?
My own bags.
But your brother is telling us that you checked in a floral bag. Do you know what he's talking about then? So why would he say that?
I don't know. Y'all go get him. I don't know. But y'all check the camera. He asked I came in.
So he's lying to us, is what you're saying.
I don't even know what he's told y'all.
I just told you what he told you, that you checked in a floral bag. One bag, floral bag, you guys checked it in. No. You checked it in, and it's under your name.
I didn't check no bag, and I didn't pay for no bag. I didn't do anything.
So why is he saying otherwise?
I'm not sure, sir. I don't know. I don't even know. I'm literally telling you everything I know. I can check everything.
Okay, any reason why TSA would call us, the police, to come respond to this location?
No, sir, this completely has me in shock. I don't have anything I shouldn't have in either of my bags.
That's what we're doing. I'm going to let you know the process we're doing. We're seeing who carried in that bag and who checked it in. But at the end of the day, the bag's under your name, and I'm trying to figure out why is it under your name.
Dude, he needs to shut the fuck up. This guy's like, dude, my uncle, I'm having problems to check in, my uncle and shit.
A lot of miscellaneous things going on since I've been here to check in.
Yeah, but your brother doesn't work for the airport, and he said it was your bag. So,
where'd he go?
He got on the flight.
He's on the plane.
No way.
So he kind of just left you high and dry here. So, I mean, if you want to tell us, is it his bag or is it your bag?
No, my bag. I don't know whose bag it is, but you can ask the lady. I didn't check in any bag.
Okay. The problem we're having is the bag, it has your tag, your reference number on it, that you checked in that bag.
I didn't check your own bag.
And then your brother said it's your bag, so kind of...
I didn't check in any bag. Y'all check the cameras. I know.
He described the bag perfectly as a floral bag.
I can't describe the bag.
Okay, I'm with me. So why would your brother say this?
I can't believe he said that, because it ain't mine.
If it's your brother's bag, let us know if it's your brother's bag.
I don't know whose bag it is. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't know. Look, I wish y'all could show me a video of me walking. I'm saying, it's not my bag.
So somebody's trying to frame you then, or?
There's something going on. There's been something going on since, that's why I'm getting here late. That's why I'm getting to my flight late, because there's been something going on every step to get it here. Since I've been here, literally.
Did your brother check in a bag on your behalf?
That's what I'm saying. We go out when we start registering for things and put our information in, do our thing. We go to different registers.
So you didn't come in together?
We didn't come in. We didn't come in together. He has his girlfriend with him, and we split ways. You know what I'm saying? And we handle our business. But if you take the camera, you see only have those two bags.
So your brother told us this is the bag and that it's yours. Now, if your brother just threw you under the bus, I'm sorry.
I don't think he did that because I haven't bought it.
Dude, this is crazy. I'm sitting here. I've been trying to make any sense of what this guy's trying to explain to these cops, and it just gets more nonsensical the further in this guy goes. Might be my brothers. I've been having problems with my uncle. I've been having problems all day. It's morning. I don't even remember if I checked the bag. Like, yo, I've never seen a guy who needs an attorney.
We're building our navy.
This guy right now. This guy getting this motherfucker Saul Goodman right now, dude. Please.
Let's go, baby!
Well, look at it this way. Your brother's on the flight. You're here with us. He gave us all the information we need to identify the bag and link it to a person.
They're turning them against each other. Look at that. You notice that? The cop. Oh, wait. Oh, here we go. Destination airports. Dallas Fort Worth. I swear they said Logan earlier. EFW to, what is that? MDW? That's Midway, Chicago. So he's flying Dallas to Chicago. That's not even that long of a drive. That's 14 hours. There's no universe. I'm not busting a 14-hour drive with my friend to not have to bring a Glock and 7 pounds through TSA. That is such a no-brainer. What? Why on earth would these guys not do that? What?
He told me directly to my face that was your bag and you checked it in.
You ain't got no whip, dude. Renting a car is infinitely cheaper than 2 plane tickets. Infinitely cheaper.
I would say any more since you've actually taken him off of a plane and you've detained him to the point where he is no longer going to get on a plane. I would say if you ask him any more questions,
they don't even need a nap or anything, bro. 7 hours each of driving, other one sleeps in the back while you're driving. Dude, that's an easy ass trip. 14 hours is nothing, dude. For 2 people, that's nothing. For one guy, it's like, okay, it's a long drive, but he has a friend with him. For 2 guys, that's nothing.
We have enough boarding pass from there.
Yeah, that makes no sense why they wouldn't do that.
I would not question them anymore because now that the plane is gone, would a reasonable person, so just wait and see if we get the picture.
64. Just follow that man right there. Follow that. They ID'd him.
Pretty much had to.
They ID'd him. So at this point, you have been ID'd as the person carrying the bag.
Ooh, they got the video pulled, chat.
Are being placed under arrest. There's the bag and a stolen firearm.
Nah, and the gun is stolen.
What stands between you and $60,000? One great idea. We made it after the big game using the Artless AI Toolkit. No massive budget, no agency. Just an idea, a timeline, and the tools to bring it to life. Did I mention that we only had 5 days to make the ad? So to celebrate Artless' first big game ad, we're inviting you to join the challenge and create your own ad using the Artless AI Toolkit. And the rules are simple. You have 2 weeks to create an original ad using any of the AI video and image generation tools available in the AI Toolkit. To enter the contest, upload your video to social media and tag Artless using the hashtag ArtlessBigGame. Then a lucky winner is going to walk away with $60,000. So take the challenge, start creating, and go big.
That was an
stolen firearm.
Nah, and the gun is stolen.
And you're being arrested before, right? You got a felonies, so you can possess a firearm regardless. So, felony possession, okay?
Yeah.
All right. We're done.
Pranav, you step down right in front of the car.
All right, so since you have a lot of stuff, I'm going to do a double check to make sure you don't have anything on you, all right? Mm-hmm. You absolutely don't have anything inside pockets and anywhere on you? Okay. Usually some of these jackets, sometimes like this inside pocket. No, they're going to do that at the jail, but if you have anything in your shoes and you try to bring it into the jail, then that's another charge. You really don't want another charge.
Just so you know that we went line to you. That's you foot in the back right here.
Alright, we're going to get in on this side. Watch your step. Okay, best way is to go in with your left foot and just kind of slide in. Good. Oh.
When would I get a call?
Once you get in and they process you, you'll have a call. If that makes sense.
Do I get a burn?
They'll talk to you about everything there, okay?
Appreciate y'all. Yeah, appreciate y'all.
I knew you guys better come help. Alright, guys.
The man was charged with possession of, after officers seized approximately 10 pounds of, along with possession of a controlled theft of a firearm and unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. Approximately $10,000 in U.S. currency was also seized as evidence. Although we were unable to locate any public updates on the outcome of that case, records show...
Yeah, because that motherfucker snitched. It's a Plug's house right now, dude. That motherfucker snitched. There's no public updates on the case. Yeah, the DEA's on it, buddy.
So that on July 26, 2025, the same individual was arrested in Gary, Indiana, in connection with a homicide that occurred earlier that month. He was charged with murder and unlawful possession of a handgun and was being held at the Lake County Jail at the time of that arrest.
Okay, never mind. This case is irrelevant. He fucking killed somebody like 2 months later. That's... Oh. Holy fuck, dude. Holy fuck. Oh my god, dude.
Get ready for fiery fun on DraftKings Casino, the #1 online casino experience and home of the largest fun.
A couple days ago, I made a video goofing around while covering the body cam footage that showed an officer being arrested after walking around flashing his badge at strangers in public. And by badge, I mean penis. And since then, I have been inundated with YouTube-recommended body cam videos. And one of these puppies really caught my eye just a little bit ago.
911, where's your emergency?
I'm at Kent State University. I need to get into my building, please.
Okay, is this an emergency? Can you look up the non-emergency number?
I need to get into my building, please.
Okay, I need you to look up the non-emergency number and contact the Kent State University, please.
I need to get into my building, please.
What doesn't this dispatcher understand? Ellen needs to get into that building. She's got papers to grade and students to flunk. Like, what the fuck? Someone send over the National Guard ASAP to let Ellen into this building. Why is she locked out in the first place? What kind of nefarious plot is this from Dr. Evil trying to keep Ellen out of her office? This is unacceptable, and he's trying to direct her to the non-emergency line? Has there ever been a more pressing emergency quite like this? This is just disgusting. This dispatcher needs to have a stern talking to. Lord help us if Ellen ever got a hold of him on the horn.
You need to contact the Kent State University Police Department. This is not...
What is it? I need to get into my...
You're going to need to look it up, ma'am. I'm going to let you go.
I don't know what it is.
After the college professor repeatedly abuses 911, demanding an officer, she eventually gets her way.
Abusing 911? Why, yada? Are we in an alternate dimension here? What kind of circus is this? Am I taking crazy pills? This is an emergency! This is Ellen! She's worked at Kent State for over 2 decades. Hello? She's not able to access this building. Get the police over there lickety-split to let her the fuck in. Do you not know what position she holds at Kent State?
I'm the school director of the School of Health Sciences. I'll show you my driver's license, which is in the car. Can you get me into the building, please, so I can go pee?
Sure. Do you have anything to drink today?
I had a drink.
You had a drink?
A drink.
Okay. Because I can smell a little bit of alcohol on you.
Smell a little bit of alcohol. That's fine. You can.
Okay.
Is that a problem, officer? What's the crime? What's the charge? Enjoying a drink? A succulent after-hours beverage? For the Kent State Health School Director, Prime Minister, Turbo Ruler Empress?
I had a drink in my colleague's office. That's fine.
In your colleague's office? Where was that at?
In the annex.
Okay. How'd you get over here? You walked over here? Okay. I'd like to give you a couple tests just to make sure you're good to go because I don't want you driving if you've been drinking.
Sir, I'm fine.
Okay. Well, I can smell it on you and you're not able to use a card to swipe into the door. So it's
Sir,
a little...
this is not working. This is not working. Can I go pee, please?
Well, here's what I'm saying. You're trying to swipe 2 cards at the same time, which kind of shows me that you're lacking some motor functions.
Yeah, well, you're lacking manners. How about that? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. This is Ellen. She has worked at Kent State for over 2 decades. She is the Kent State Health Director, Health Rock and Roll Specialist or something. Yeah, maybe she was relentlessly calling 911 all because she couldn't quite figure out how to scan her card because she was a little too hammered. Who hasn't been there, huh? We've all been there. That door's tricky. That could fool even the most sober of us. All of us would be scanning 2 cards, even without alcohol. I'm sure it's a mistake that happens often. And she just, given her position of power, perhaps a bit of entitlement. Like, hey, I'm gonna need to start using police resources here to get this door open for me. It's fucking absurd, man. I gotta drop the sarcasm. So she's had a little bit to drink, apparently, and she's trying to scan 2 cards at the same time, which is obviously not working. The door's not opening. So then she immediately resorts to calling 911 numerous times here as if it's an actual emergency, diverting resources away from what could legitimately be real possible emergencies out there that now have to deal with this shit. It is a little wacky. I'll tell you what, Ellen, not great.
I wouldn't want you to...
Can I go pee? Can I pee, please?
Yeah, here, I'll let you in to pee real quick and then we'll talk, okay? Do you have someone you could call?
My husband.
Okay. Do you want to go pee first and start working on calling him?
No, I don't. This is not okay.
What's not okay?
That you're going to call my husband.
No, you're going to call him.
I'm fine.
I don't think you're okay to drive.
I think I'm okay to drive. I have a Tesla.
Checkmate, she has a Tesla. She can be extremely drunk and the car will get her home, no worries. What's the big deal? She has to pee. This officer just must not know who she is. This is Ellen. She's the health director. If she says she's okay to drive, she's okay to drive. She's the health director. She directs health, for crying out loud. Come on, she knows health better than all of us here. And if she just needs to tinkle a little bit, then hop in the old Tesla and get herself home while being, I guess, a little too inebriated to figure out how to open a door that I imagine she's opened thousands of times in the past, then we just need to forget about it and trust her better judgment.
Sir, I'm going to call your captain in a minute.
That's fine. You're not going to drive out of here.
You're not going to be okay. Yo,
you can Venmo this, or you can Venmo that. You can Venmo this, or you can Venmo that. You can Venmo this, or you can Venmo that. I think you Venmo this.
Get your Venmo.
Is there a bathroom back here you're using?
I'm sorry?
Is there a bathroom in this office you're using?
I'm going to go over there. I'm the school director of the School of Health Sciences, and I'm going to be okay.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay. I just need you to call somebody for me before I go.
That will be fine.
She's too far. Okay. So she said she walked here, though?
So it doesn't seem like it's an emergency here. She doesn't need to hit the urination station urgently. She takes a small detour here to complete a side quest where she takes off the cap and gown in her office, and then also just stays in the office for quite a while, to the point where the officers were concerned. She crawled out the window to get to her vehicle and drive home. So then they go around the outside to check if she's still there, and they're about to get a big surprise.
Now, to the parking lot that way. Yeah, she's trying to swipe like 2 cards at the same time to get in. No, you're not driving home. Unless she's calling a window. I mean, the window, there's definitely windows right there.
Turns out she's just sitting in the office now. Just blankly sitting there. Kind of looked like a horror movie scene, like right before a jump scare. I don't know what she's doing. I guess maybe she went over there to start giving some students failing grades for fun. Like maybe that's what she does when she's drunk, just flunk out some students just for the hell of it. I have no idea. But the whole thing was about her not being able to get into the building and how badly she needs to pee. So she calls the police multiple times. Eventually the police show up, smell alcohol on her, realize she might be drunk because she is not able to just swipe a card to get into a building because she keeps trying to swipe 2 cards, which is preventing her from accessing it. I'm also really surprised she even called the police in the first place for that. I don't know why she wouldn't just ask any of the people around her. There's other people on this campus. I'm surprised she didn't just go to anyone else and immediately resorted to going to police. Her sense of entitlement is just that large, I suppose. So anyway, now she's in there, just sitting there. Maybe she's peeing in the seat. I doubt it. But she's just sitting there and still refusing to call someone to drive her home or get an Uber or anything, and still insists she's going to drive.
You're half harassing me right now. I don't appreciate it.
No, I'm just making sure you get home okay.
I'm going to be okay.
Okay. Well, I just need to make sure you call somebody here, because I don't want you driving home.
I'm going to call Captain Getman from Kent.
Who's that?
The captain of Kent, if you don't leave me alone.
What's his name?
Captain Getman of Kent. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and you're going to leave me alone.
Captain Gitman of Kent. Sounds like the name of a character from Game of Thrones. Seems like the officers don't know who that is. I don't know if that's actually their captain or not, but apparently she's got a direct line to him. So, I guess, be ready.
I'm missing a best card that's out there.
It fell down out there?
Yeah. He's going to leave me alone. I'm going to go home and go pee, and you're going to leave me alone.
Okay, but you're not going to drive.
I'm going to drive home.
Okay, ma'am, you're not going to drive.
I'm driving home, and you're going to leave me alone. I'm fine. And you're going to I have water in my car. I'm fine.
I don't care if you have water in your car.
If she's not actually drunk, then it's just a pretty impressive aggression and sense of entitlement. Like, even the officers kind of chalk it up to her, you know, under the influence. But if she actually is just sober, man, what a bad attitude. Like, she seems very miserable to be around. And also, this is entirely of her own doing. She called the cops multiple times to try and get them out there. They showed up exactly like she was asking for. So, like, she brought all of it on herself.
No, you're going to leave me alone. My husband just had surgery, and I'm driving.
Okay.
Sir, you're going to leave me alone? Do you want me to take a breathalyzer? I'll do that for you.
Nope, don't have one.
What?
I don't have one.
Sir, you're going to leave me alone? I'm fine.
I would have been super curious to see the breathalyzer here, because she's saying she'd take one, but the officer, I guess, doesn't have one.
which was pretty surprising.
I will. I work. I have work. You can leave me alone. Look, I could not get in the building because you locked my building.
We didn't lock your building. It locks automatically.
Okay.
So we did you a service by letting you in here.
Okay, I could have driven home with my Cap and Gale. So can I go pee, please?
I never told you you couldn't. Go ahead.
Not quite the checkmate maneuver she thought that was going to be. I couldn't get in the building because you guys locked it, which obviously didn't happen. I don't think the officers pulled one over on her here with the fast one. She was swiping 2 cards and couldn't open her own building, and was calling the authorities to come do it for her. Again, she demanded they show up. Like, it's unbelievable. And now she's like, okay, can I go pee? Come on, grow up. I want to go pee now. Is that okay? Do I have your permission to pee? And the officer's like, yeah, just go pee. Like, no one told you not to. Like, she's been in here for a while now and is still not peed like she said she really needed to do at the very beginning. Like, it's, I don't know, it does feel like maybe she drank a little too much, even though she likes to claim she's not drunk.
File free in the app if you didn't file with us last year. Just file with TurboTax Do-It-Yourself by February 28th. No matter your...
Likes to claim she's not drunk.
Jesus Christ. I've worked here for 28 years.
I understand.
So can you give me my other card back?
I don't have your other card.
I'm not intoxicated.
Well, I think you are.
I'm glad you think I am, but I'm not. You can have a good day. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can you call somebody for me?
Sure, I will.
Can you do that right now?
I will. In my car.
Now we're starting to get into the big stalemate territory. The officers are getting, like, really annoyed here, just saying, please call someone. We cannot let you drive that vehicle while we believe you're intoxicated. And based on all the evidence here, like this interaction, she does appear to be intoxicated. She did mention drinking earlier. She claims it was just a drink. It does seem a little different. So, like, I think it's a pretty reasonable request to just say, like, can you just call someone, get an Uber, just fucking something, because drunk driving is bad. It's a terrible thing. But she continues to refuse it, and she gets more and more heated about all of it, and as you can probably imagine, it doesn't exactly go swimmingly.
Ma'am, listen, you've been here a long time. Please don't tarnish your own reputation by doing this, because we are going to arrest you if you try to leave here and drive your car. I promise. Like, you're going to be arrested. And that is not what we want to do.
So my husband is home.
Okay, you said he just had surgery and he can't drive, right?
I'll call Captain Gitman right now.
There's no Captain Gitman.
He's here at my phone.
Okay, well, call. Go ahead. There's no Captain Gitman that works for
He works for Kent City.
No, he doesn't.
Bye. Have a good day.
Well, explain it all you could. No.
Now it just sounds like they're sad, like, oh, fuck, we're gonna have to arrest Ellen. Ellen, she's been at the university for over 2 decades as the school director of health. Oh, man, shocks. Jeepers. And she just keeps going on about this Captain Gitman, who they don't know who that is, so I'm assuming she's barking up the wrong tree there. Maybe there is a Captain Gitman that exists there in her phone, but, like, what is he gonna do? Like, no, you had, boys, listen, she's got my permission to drunk drive home. Stand down. Like, if they don't know who Captain Gitman is, I don't think they would respect the authority of whoever answers that phone.
It is what it is at this point.
He reports to you.
That's not accurate.
It's totally accurate.
Okay.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic...
All right, do you have all the stuff you need?
Captain Gitman, call me back. It's Ellen Glickman.
You have a lanyard on your right side under your jacket, if that's what you're looking for.
Nope, I'm looking for office keys. You guys f***ed me up. Thank you.
Are you going to be able to call anyone for me?
No, are you?
Okay, I'll take it this way.
No, you would not take my...
All right, well, right now you're under arrest.
I'm calling my husband. Stop.
Okay, just relax. You're under arrest.
No, I'm not.
I've made my decision. You are under arrest.
I'm calling my husband.
Put your hands behind your back.
No, I'm calling my...
This feels like someone who's probably used to bullying people to get anything she wants and just kind of steamrolling around conversations in order to come out on top. And her hardball didn't quite work here. So after quite a lengthy period of time here, she finally, at the very end, concedes, saying, "Okay, I'll call my husband. Stop." But the officers have already had enough of it at this point, because she already said she'd do that a few times, and then didn't, and then tried to call the imaginary captain, fucking super sailor, whoever she was calling. So they make the decision to arrest her, because it seems like she is still going to be driving herself home, because she keeps saying she's going to.
I'm really, really sorry.
It's okay. You're walking to this car right here.
No, I'm walking to my...
You're not walking to your car. You're not driving home.
Can you please call my husband?
No.
No, I'm really... Stop this. Call my husband. Please call my husband.
Stop.
Can you call my husband right now? Right now.
You can call him when you're being booked.
I'm not being booked.
You are.
I'm really sorry for being an asshole.
So it's not because you're being difficult. It's because you're drunk.
I'm not drunk.
You are.
No, I'm not. Please, take my phone. Please take my phone.
I already have your phone.
I'm sorry for being an asshole.
It has nothing to do with that.
I'm being an asshole. So much. Sir, I've worked here 28 years. Can I speak to somebody who's worked here a long time? Because I've been here 28 years.
Have a seat.
So they take her to the facility. She reiterates numerous times that she's worked there for 28 years, this and that, flexing her position and standing in the community for so long. Eventually, her son shows up to take her home and ensure she doesn't try and drive. She was charged with disorderly conduct, intoxication. After a plea deal in community and service, it was dropped. And you'd think that's where the story ends, but it doesn't, because after all was said and done, and this was water under the bridge, she and her husband came back to try and argue.
Of course. The privileged white box. What do you expect?
Lieutenant Campbell, how can I help you?
I'm Ellen Lippin. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I wanted to chat with. Do you know who the officers were that night?
Yes, Officer White and Officer Womack.
So what would be the best way of chatting with them?
What kind of conversation are you wanting to have with them?
Peaceful. Yeah. I think there was errors on both sides.
Well, I'd have to disagree on that.
You do?
So, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
They were doing their jobs and potentially could have saved your life by not letting you drive. If you disagree with that, that's fine.
Shut that shit down pretty quickly. Why is she coming back here to try and argue with the officers from that night? Everything had already been settled. It had actually just totally been dropped after her community and service and plea, yet she still wants to come over and make an issue. Like, I really think that shows her general attitude and the way that she carries herself. It is someone that is so used to, like, bullying her way through life, is the impression I get from all of this. This is just like an inexplicable decision to try and come over here and now try and have further conversations with the officers from that night, which no doubt were not going to be overly peaceful, because she's already pretty upset, it seems, and still a bit heated about it, saying, oh, there were errors on both sides.
So,
I was not inebriated.
okay, that's fine.
You weren't there?
No, I was not there.
Okay, so there was a lot of, he was home with cancer and was post-op for about 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I was not intoxicated. I was sleep deprived. I had a drink. I have PTSD from y'all. My ex-husband was a cop.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff you didn't know. I was not given the opportunity to discuss. And
you were given many opportunities, and you did not take advantage of any of them.
Okay.
It is incomprehensible how she keeps doing this. So again, all of this started because she was calling 911, relentlessly about trying to get officers over there to open a fucking door for her. That's what started all of this. And now, after the whole case has been done and dusted, all settled, she still goes out here and does this kind of shit again. It's so wacky. It's just so weird. And the officer did make a good point. They very realistically could have saved her life. Even if she wasn't drunk, she doesn't appear to have been in a good condition for being behind the wheel of a car in the first place. If it was sleep deprivation or whatever was causing that, it does not appear she was in a good state to be operating a vehicle. So, like, it is a very real chance that they saved her life there. Anyway, though, this professor was insufferably self-entitled, and I just had to yap about it after watching this Midwest safety video. That's really about it. See ya.
Whether you're racing in Formula One, IndyCar, or NASCAR, the best race teams have the best engineers.
The country is a powder keg. The election of Abraham Lincoln has finally ignited decades of tension between North and South. 7 states have already seceded before he was even in office, and now he had to physically get to his office. His train stopped through Baltimore on its way to Washington, D.C. Yet Lincoln would never get there. He would be shot dead. Despite heightened security, it just wasn't enough. Abraham Lincoln himself is the first casualty of the Civil War. Yeah, so that was alternate history, clearly. Like, even someone who doesn't know history knows that Lincoln was shot after the war, but there was a possibility that it could have been sooner. This was the Baltimore plot. Now, theorizing about the Baltimore plot is kind of complicated because there isn't a ton of information about any of the specifics. Really, all you need to know is that the railroad companies heard some rumors that something might go down when Lincoln went into town, and so they hired a private investigator, Allan Pinkerton, to check it out. No, that name is not a coincidence. The most Pinkerton and his agents could conclude was that something might happen, and a lot of people were certainly angry at Lincoln. They might even use weapons on him. Will they use a knife? Or a gun? A brick? All are possible. Why not? Pinkerton set up quite the elaborate spy operation. He even had one of his agents disguise herself as Miss Cherry, a southern dame with a fake accent. Apparently, they uncovered a few alleged plots, like one to sabotage the rail lines to make the train stop, or surround Lincoln's train cart while he was in station and beat him to death. There wasn't that much concrete evidence, though. All they really had was that a lot of people really hated Lincoln in Baltimore, especially some guys at the Barnum Hotel. In the end, Lincoln's team just didn't want to take the chance. They still had to go past Baltimore, though. It was the only way into D.C. by train. So, instead of a daytime arrival like originally planned, they decided to smuggle Lincoln through at night. On the night of February 23rd, Lincoln's train arrived hours ahead of schedule. Disguised, poorly, in a soft hat and borrowed overcoat, he slipped through Baltimore unnoticed, while the would-be assassins remained none the wiser. The aftermath of this was both relief and ridicule. Newspapers mocked Lincoln for sneaking into Washington, kind of unaware of how real the threat had been. This was still during the nothing ever happened stage of the war. It wouldn't be until weeks later where a pro-Confederate mob would riot against Union troops in Baltimore, and, well, hindsight is 20/20. So, what if we removed these Bond-level spies from the equation? What if the railway execs who hired them were too busy to actually hire them? Imagine if Lincoln's team had been as unprepared as Fort Sumter was, left vulnerable to a Confederate barrage. Everyone forgets about the naval aspect of the Civil War, which is kind of a shame because it was pretty cool. But you know who didn't forget about the Navy? World of Warships Legends, the sponsor of today's video. They have some ships that'll make the USS Monitor look like a pile of floating scrap. To celebrate the 4th of July, this summer's update brings in explosive new gameplay and festive camouflages. Welcoming back the Louisiana, a legendary tier battleship. She has 406mm guns, potent secondaries, and deadly torpedo airstrikes. Plus, she's the final reward in a brand new free Bureau project. If you haven't yet heard about it, World of Warships Legends is a massive multiplayer free-to-play game on both consoles and mobile. Instead of other Twitch-based online multiplayers, use strategy and precision to defeat your opponents in PvP battles ranging from 9v9 to 3v3. Fight with destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and even aircraft carriers in a game that has seen 8 million players since its launch. With 400 plus ships, 20 plus maps, 100 plus commanders, and regular collaborations, there is truly no lack of content. World of Warships Legends is the strategic gameplay of warships you know, now with the comfortability of home console. So why not join in and fight on the seas? Play World of Warships Legends today. Say somehow, for some reason, President-elect Abraham Lincoln never makes it to his inauguration? What if Lincoln got shot earlier? But Cody, I thought you were gonna do a video about if Lincoln was never shot. Yeah, Jimmy, I was gonna, but then I went down this rabbit hole and it spiraled from there. And look, this idea is a lot more interesting, alright? Everyone's done a Lincoln never gets assassinated video, including me. What if Lincoln was never assassinated? But has anyone dared kill Lincoln before he was president? Well, I am. Don't take that out of context. Alright, so in this alternate timeline, Lincoln gets killed before he's president. In kind of a f***ed-up sense, problem solved, right? Like, the South seceded because Lincoln was elected. If he was dead, then maybe the war just doesn't happen, right?
Right? Right? Wrong! It happens extra hard.
So, remember what I said earlier. Before Lincoln was even inaugurated, by late February, all 7 states of the Deep South were already gone. They wouldn't just come back because the guy they didn't like died. Plus, from their perspective, Lincoln the person wasn't the sole reason for secession. For the South, Lincoln was just the final straw. Some sort of conflict is going to happen no matter what. It's just now Lincoln isn't there to see the Union through it. He doesn't become the president that's slapped on literally everything. Instead, in this alternate timeline, the US gets his VP, Hannibal Hamlin. Good luck. Man, just imagine that. The country's already in the midst of this absolute chaos. And on top of that, the president-elect is killed. President-elect dead is plastered on every northern newspaper. Lincoln slain. Stuff like that. Hamlin finds himself now at the center of a house fire he did not start. And at least for now, in February, he's not even in charge. President James Buchanan still is, at least legally. His cabinet at the time would be raiding federal military supplies. His term ends March 4th. Get as much as you can. Because Buchanan is still here, the federal government's response to the first presidential assassination in U.S. history is just a collective shrug. By this point, there isn't much anyone can do. The idea of a smooth transition is tossed out the window. In many ways, the start of the conflict isn't seen as Fort Sumter, it's the death of Lincoln. It's funny how Lincoln was one of the most famous U.S. presidents, debatably the most famous, and yet nobody remembers his VP. Who was Hannibal Hamlin? He was only here to balance the presidential ticket in the first place. Lincoln was from Illinois, a western state at the time, and the Republican Party needed a New Englander to appeal to the strong anti-slavery base in the region, as well as to be a draw-in for Democrats. Hamlin hated Washington like a cat hates water. Throughout his first term in our timeline, he spent more time in Maine than at his desk. By 1864, the party replaced him with Andrew Johnson, which worked out for everyone. In this alternate timeline, Hamlin, the most VP man to ever VP, now has to be an actual leader. He now has true power, but in the way a chimp behind the wheel of a semi has power, Hamlin was just not equipped to be president, even in peacetime. He wasn't even a candidate during the 1860 Republican Convention, and now he would need to take on a task that withered away Abraham Lincoln. His decisions would decide the fate of the nation. It's just too bad he's literally the worst possible choice at the worst possible time. Well, I guess he's not the actual worst possible choice. You see, back in 1861, VP succession rule was not really set in law. It was more of a guideline, a constitutional suggestion box rather than anything set in stone. When William Henry Harrison kicked the bucket in 1841 after 32 days, the only reason his VP John Tyler took his place was because he basically said, "I'm the president now," and Congress went along with it because someone had to be. This little succession thing didn't become certified until the 25th Amendment in 1967. So Hamlin becoming the next president isn't a done deal at all. But wait, here's the kicker. Lincoln wasn't even sworn in yet. He was shot before taking office. So who takes Buchanan's place? Well, that's where we break out the 1792 Succession Act, meaning that the next in line is Senate President pro tempore John C. Breckinridge, a Kentucky Democrat, the man who won most of the states in the South. In our timeline, he very quickly joined the Confederacy. This might be an issue. Where do we truly go from here? Like really, Breckinridge, holding a new election? With state militias already taking weapons and ammo from federal stockpiles? Good luck. Elections are about preventing that sort of thing. Can't really stop them when it's already in action. Okay, so say Breckinridge takes office. Well, I have a feeling he wouldn't be in office for too long, nor would the remaining northern states and Washington go along with it. Let's address the elephant in the room here. Southern sympathizers just murdered the president-elect. And that is something that just never happened before, by the way. It was a big deal when Lincoln was shot, and that was after the war. The North nuked the South, and yeah, symbolically Lincoln getting shot sucked, but since they still won this long war, it was really just one last slap from the South. But here, Lincoln's death isn't the war's conclusion, it's the war's start, the lightning rod for the North, and also the signifier of a far more chaotic Civil War. The American Civil War in our timeline was about as formal as a civil war could actually be, the closest you will ever get to red versus blue. For the most part, geography determined sides, and that made things politically simpler for both as well. Most civil wars are, well, everywhere. The government itself is purged or gutted as factions form or leave, and in this alternate timeline, the US in some part gets a taste of that confusion. Because in like 4 different ways, democracy here has failed. In this chaos, Congress needs to make a fateful decision, as the South still begins to mobilize and the North is frozen. They need to figure out who the hell the president is. I'm going to predict that they give the presidency to the man who came in second at the Republican convention. A man who wanted the job so badly, he actually schemed to replace Lincoln in 1864, in the middle of the war. Enter President William H. Seward. Seward is kind of fascinating. Today, if you know anything about him at all, it's that he was stabbed in an assassination plot and he bought Alaska from the Russians. But before the Civil War, he was really Lincoln's biggest rival in the Republican Party. Granted, during the Civil War he kind of was too. He had his own loyal supporters who were crushed when Lincoln won. Which, if you know modern politics, just because a candidate loses, it doesn't mean their influence is gone. Lincoln knew this, and made Seward Secretary of State. When it came to policy, Seward followed the line that Lincoln set. They rarely clashed that much on policy. So at first glance, imagining a Seward presidency doesn't seem too different at all. You know, at first glance. Seward in the presidential chair would have been very interesting, especially in such a delicate time like the opening days of the war. We know he probably would have called up more volunteers than Lincoln, wanting 100,000 men instead of 70,000. We know that he would have taken the same initial diplomatic approach at keeping the South within the Union, and we know that he wanted to start a war against a European country. Wait, what? Yeah, so Seward was kind of a wacky guy when it came to foreign policy. Or at least, he was a wacky guy, and the best evidence we have for that wackiness was when he channeled it into his job, which was being Secretary of State. December 20th, 1860. During dinner, Seward mused that if the Lord would only give the United States an excuse for war with England, France, or Spain, that would be the best means of re-establishing internal peace.
Are you a homeowner? At Pre-Tax USA, we help make your taxes easy and affordable. Everyone qualifies for free federal...
29th, 1861. During a private chat with Rudolf Schleiden, Seward once again brings up the idea that a quick war with a foreign power would rally everyone around a common cause. April 1st, 1861. Seward suggests in a memo to Lincoln that the U.S. demand explanation from Spain and France, and if unsatisfied, declare war against them. You get the idea. That was just in the first 4 months. Later on in the year, there was the Trent Affair, where the U.S. seized a British ship to capture some Confederate envoys, a move that Seward supported before backing down. Now, I don't want to make any assumptions on his character, But maybe Seward wouldn't be the calmest hand in this alternate situation. Am I saying he just randomly declares war on the fucking French to stop the Civil War from happening, and then the South still leaves, and so the North is fighting a two-front war? I mean, that would be very funny, but that's an idea that's just so comedic. I have to imagine, sincerely, that somebody would probably have talked him out of this. Just imagine, though, Napoleon III of France and Seward of the Union fighting it out while the South just kind of stands there confused. I'm going to just take this information and make the assumption that Seward, as